And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Want to remind everybody hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And there is a PayPal link down there for anybody that wants to share some love. But there's also a StreamYard link down there for anybody who wants to join. We're going to do a debate tonight on the DemoCrazy. Is society gaslighting traditional family lifestyles? And we've got Dean with us tonight. How you doing tonight, Dean? Hello, hello,
Oh,
hello.
hello, hello. Can you
There
hear
he
me
is.
now?
We can hear you. We can hear you. Verizon does a wonderful job, brother.
Oh, wonderful.
So how you been, brother?
Doing well.
Good.
Blessed every day, just it's a thing. Still knocking on doors. I'm trying to keep it as private as I can, but if allegedly equity works, in private, then I don't want to be talking too much about it, but I'm going straight to legislatures and looking for just compensation.
Yep, and that's what I think. That's what we're supposed to do. I think people are catching on to the Roberts Rules of Procedure and things like that, and that tells us we're supposed to go to the legislature. That's where laws are made, both public and private.
Right. And they also have the purse. So for just compensation situations, who better to go to? Why fight in court when they haven't argued against my claim? They haven't even said anything. I'll take their silence as acquiescence. What else is there to do?
Absolutely. And we have Kingdom Ambassador Brown. How you doing tonight, brother? Oop, there you
All
go.
is well. How you doing, man? How you doing?
Good, good. Yourself?
All is well, brother. This is Terry.
Oh, greetings, greetings, Terry Brown. Love it, love it. Good to have you aboard. And we don't
Awesome.
have anybody else. We don't have anybody else on panel right now, so we're gonna go ahead and get. I'm gonna get started with my monologue. I'm gonna drop you guys in the background and do my monologue, and then I'll bring everybody back up and get into some of these demo crazy videos. Appreciate you guys. Be right back. So when I say demo crazy, this is the democracy that's been instituted, in my opinion, through my research and gathering of information over the years through the Federal Reserve System. And I think people have been induced through many different legislations throughout history that have brought us to this point in time where we see this supposed Christian society, which is a family based system that has converted everything from that family base to a false patriarch of handing over church documents to a military government. And in that, we have this crazy thing about everybody wanting to be included despite any kind of discriminating factors. And those discriminating factors being things like feminist rights, civil rights, tra- uh, gay rights, transitional rights, all kinds of things. And it's brought people to believe that their individual personalities are more important than the characters of reality. And so we're going to go over some things like I do in normal insanity videos on Paul Jr. channel, where we've gone over all these shorts, and we're going to do that again tonight. But this time, I'm hoping people on the panel will get involved more in the discussion as it relates to the destruction of that family lifestyle that we see so prevalent today. And my assertion, again, when it comes to this Christian society and those family values, is completely destructed and destroyed by what's known as the public education system. This is where people give up their obligations, their responsibilities to bring the next generation up in that family lifestyle and hand it over to this public education system that indoctrinates them to remember certain things and never touches anywhere on a family lifestyle, but basically on a military style of government through corporate activities. These are the commercial entities, and then they are enforced through regulations of legal entities. So we're going to get started, and we've got Hadassah with us tonight again, and we're bringing back the other guys. And welcome, Hadassah. How you doing, sister? Been a while. Hello, hello, Adasa, you there, sister? Oh, you were there. There you are.
Trying.
There you
Okay,
go.
there we go.
How
I'm
you doing
good.
tonight?
How have you been?
Good, good.
Good.
So, so first of all, I've got three panelists here. I want to get each of your view of what you see society as it relates to the gaslighting of traditional family living. Do you see the same kind of things that I just mentioned in my monologue?
I missed the monologue.
Okay. Well, in short,
you just give me a brief synopsis? Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, in short, I think over a period of time, we've become dependent on a source of knowledge from somebody else that has some supposed authority through a false patriarch that leads us to believe that they're going to keep us safe. And the giving up of those responsibilities for those protective rights is what actually has caused us to veer away from the family living styles and be induced and incorporated into a military corporate government. Does that sound the same, like the same lines that you see things happening, or do you see other things that I'm missing as well? Can you build on that, or do you have objection?
Actually, I very much agree with that. If you look at the FCC, which is actually how they get a lot of their jurisdiction is through communications, it's all for safety and emergencies.
Yeah, that's the
right?
priority. Yeah, that's the priority of eminent domain, is for the better good of the public as a whole, rather than the better good for the individual, which is what society is dependent upon. It depends on each and every individual to have a collective whole that runs by a, quote, statistical value system.
You know what's interesting is this is actually on Gutenberg.org. If you dig into their resources and back files about that entity, which is actually the first database that was created by the military, funny enough. And it's where you can actually, do basically an open source copyright or donate to the public some kind of work, like Alice in Wonderland is actually owned by, quote unquote, owned by Gutenberg.org. So everybody can use the original as like a basis and make their own version of it. But that original was a gift to, society, right? And it actually says in their documentation that freedom is not free.
Right, and that's the thing about that donation, gifting. See, if you understand the tax system, it's based on tithing, which is a gift. So if the gift has already been given, you can't then turn around and tax it. That's the foundation of the U.S. tax system. So let's get into
You're
it.
called an Indian giver if you do that, correct? You
Yep.
give a gift and you take it back. Right?
Yep.
It's funny because I actually found most of the courts are they're registered as a Indian tribe.
Yep.
Hey, so Keith, what I would throw in along this route as well, for many years, dating was really hard. Women seem to have this idea that they could be independent and they can do their own thing. And I wonder if that's part of that. That's part, when you're talking about demon crazy and maybe leftist ideals, I was in Washington State on the Western coast, and it was a hotbed of that stuff. It was.
Well, yeah, that's what I was referring to when we talk about this legislation and the equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion that allows for the passage of feminist rights laws, civil rights laws, transgender laws and stuff, just so that people that have some kind of discriminatory factors within themselves, because they're the ones that are professing that they demand feminist rights. Those feminist rights have already been around for a long time. It's called a societal role or a familial.
Oh, yeah. And I've been held to white privilege for a whole lot of things in my life, and I'm still waiting for that to kick in. I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, and so some of the material we're going to cover is things like false accusations by women, all kinds of things. Same thing with the police. And the first one we're going to start off with is with a foreign government that kind of agrees with the same thing as Trump. When it comes down to all the crazy shit that's going on, it's reaching the top levels, and some people in the top levels are seeing it. And the people that are in the top level seeing it are the ones that are there through qualifications and not through some kind of DEI, because they've been discriminated against and therefore they feel they should be included. So then they include them and they screw the system up. And the more we include those, the more we're screwing up the system that was potentially provided to keep us in a protected state. But again, the only way that we can keep ourselves in a protected state is by protecting ourselves. So through the Constitution, we have delegated certain powers to let them know that they have responsibility for those protections. But they're taking that as if though they have that authority. They don't get the authority but by the delegation of the people. And that's the DemoCrazy we're talking about. We were instituted as a republic form of government. And through various legislations, particularly the Federal Reserve Act and the Banking Secrecy Act, we have now instituted a democracy. And that's what everything's built on or legislating towards. And that is truly communist, in my opinion.
Well, it's also crazy because you're still teaching kids in school to say the Pledge of Allegiance that tells it's a republic. So
Yes.
then to turn around as adults and call it democracy, on some level, that's got to be confusing to somebody. I mean, come on now.
And notice that the verbiage in that pledge, it says that I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands. And grammatically, I think it's better and more correctly stated, or more perfectly stated, if you want to say, that I pledge allegiance to the republic of the United States of America and to the flag which represents that. And this goes to the base foundation and equity.
It's still indoctrination to children, though, which I don't.
Yes.
It's still not cool.
Yes.
It's still bad. Gets out of the school. It doesn't belong there. If they want to do it at city council meetings and stuff, that's fine. But I had no problem helping out that city or trying to, and still not saying that thing when they said it. And I think the other people knew that, and they were more than happy to see me go because they just didn't like that level of freedom.
Yeah, and see that's the institution of that patriotic value system that induces us to pay tribute to the false patriot. And again, that's why I say the base foundation of everything that's going wrong is our own fault, because we're delegating the very responsibility that should be inherently the most priority one for us, is we let somebody else teach our children in that dogmatic political subdivision system. It's all politicized. And that's not the way we should be raising our children. So let's get into it. And like I said, this first one is from a foreign government official, and he's going to speak as it relates to the same concept that Trump believes in: put America first. He's thinking put Britain first as well. And this is in regards to the DEI things that have been implemented over the decades that allows all these immigration factors that we're dealing with now today, as well as the DEI in USAID, all this stuff. And I'll remind you folks, USAID was brought in under Kennedy back in the 60s. And so that was the first real implementation of DEI as we see it today. It just wasn't called DEI back then. It's just because of the terms of inclusive and discrimination that we now express it as DEI for the inclusion of those that have been discriminated. So pay attention to what this guy says and understand what he's saying in relations to what I mentioned and relates to the opposite side of rape victims when I talked about women making false accusations. This here, we're talking about the fact that the rapes that do go on in regards to our own communities that are committed by people from foreign countries because of open borders and the lack of regulation and the protection and safety of our very own people because of it.
Because right now, Britain is a joke, and it has been for some time.
And I profess that America right now is a joke and has been for some time. Like I've said, we have been, and My mustache right here, this short toothbrush mustache that most people want to call a Hitler mustache, I comprehend that, and that's why I do wear it. I do want people to see it as a Hitler mustache. I want them to relegate in the concept that I firmly believe in. If they don't see it, I certainly do. That on American soil today, we are slowly becoming Hitler's willing executioners for the concept of a false belief in a false patriarch that they will protect us from our own iniquitous actions. And that is not so. You will pay for your actions under God, not some false patriarch.
Take this, for example. £10 million was set aside for local inquiries into the rape gangs by the Labour government. Just £10 million. This year alone, we sent £133 million to Pakistan in foreign aid.
And that was through the USAID, through diversity, equity, inclusion, for programs about sexuality and things.
So hold on, how's that? How are you saying that works? Because if he's saying he's sending pounds, is that because he's laundered some U.S. Federal Reserve notes, or what? How's that working?
Well, it's again not
technically.
Yeah, it's not him laundering. It's USAID that is, and I'll also let you know that USAID somehow a lot of those funds through the Clinton presidency got converted to the Clinton Foundation, just so you know. And in this situation, we're talking, yeah, and we're in this situation where he's talking about that foreign aid to Pakistan, while they have illegal Pakistani immigrants in Britain that are committing rapes, and the immigration laws, Pakistan is saying, no, we're not going to take them back. You're going to take them back, or we're going to cut the 133 million pounds of aid that we're giving you.
Well, that's my question. If he's given pounds, how many Federal Reserve notes is that? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that the exchange was my question. I know there's all kinds of other issues with what's going on over there. So,
Well, yeah, and remember, the U.S. dollar is the base dollar for international currency. So they're all dependent upon the U.S. dollar, and they have their own conversion weights or conversion differences. That's all it is.
When it comes to that, though, too, if you look up on, it's called XE.com. It's a currency exchange platform, right? If you look up under the encyclopedia for currency, you'll see the symbol, the name of the currency, the country, all that. But you'll also see what's called the Unicode and the hex code. There are 30 total, 31 if you include the U.S., countries that actually recognize a quote-unquote dollar as their currency. And there are 30 of those, 31, that actually use the same Unicode and hex code as the U.S. dollar, which is how they do the currency exchange.
But in the reality, it didn't mean anything. When I toured Europe many years ago, and we went through many different countries, it was pretty clear that regardless of whatever the country called their unit of money, it was still about the same equivalent everywhere for like a soda or a meal or whatever. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of difference. Does that make sense? Like it may have been converted from dollars, but it was still about the same amount of dollars, even in the other country. Like there wasn't a whole.
Yeah, but this is the problem, though, is when you have like something. I'm just going to use this as an example. Like for instance, Trinidad and Tobago, right, down the Caribbean. They have a dollar that they utilize, just like the U.S. dollar. But when you transfer something on XE.com, which is a currency exchange platform, it sees in the system, in that data system, the same hex code, Unicode. But when it gets down to that Trinidad and Tobago, last time I looked at the currency exchange, it was like $7.25 Trinidadian dollars for one U.S. dollar. So when it gets down there, right, it is transferred into that $7.25 or 75 cents for that $1. Stays there overnight. Now you can transfer it back to the U.S. for that $7.75 in U.S. dollars, because it's seen as the same coding. That's my point.
Yeah, and
that's how they do a lot of that application is the currency exchange.
Yeah, and that Unicode that you speak of, that's what I use to create my own text language. If you go to my WordWise Warrior page, site page, you'll
I
see on the
saw
bottom,
that.
yeah, the bottom of the very first page, I have my code in there as my patent declaration. And then at the very bottom of the page, you'll see the codex that shows you what each symbol means as it relates to the alphabet of the English language. So it comes with its own decoder so that you can actually sit down and learn the text of my writing and learn how to read and write it. And that's done through the Unicode. You can change those symbols around and use varying different symbols for the different letters of the alphabet. That's all I did.
Have you created a hex code yet?
No, I don't think that I ever will. I'm just doing it as a matter of a journal system that I have here on YouTube with my 30 different channels and stuff, as well as my WordWise Warrior private member association. It's a matter of learning how to communicate.
Is, right?
Excuse me?
You know what the hex code is, right?
Well, yeah, it's your different symbols of values for your different languages as they're converted from one culture
The hex
to
code is
another.
different than the Unicode, actually. The hex code is the color representation of it and the numerical value for that color. Yeah.
Right.
So
it's like the flag system. It's like the flag system.
Yeah, exactly.
Flag system versus the language system. So you have a grammatical language and you have a picture language.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's funny because this is on packaging for everything that, from our food to, you can go and look at it, those weird like squares that they have, like when you open up a box of food and it's like on the inside, little flaps or whatever. That's the hex code.
Yep.
Very interesting.
My view, scrap every single penny.
Scrap every single penny. Quit giving them aid as for their sexual deviant correction programs, because they won't take back the sexual deviants that they let come into our country while we're giving you 130 million pounds of aid. No, you'll take them back and learn how to rehabilitate them yourself or put them in your own prisons. We're no longer going to pay for it on this side and at the same time give you aid. See the predicament there? The money is the issue. Always follow the money, and that will resolve the problem.
Or at the very least, use it as a weapon to force the Pakistani government to accept their deported rapists and criminals.
Exactly. See, that's even one of the principles of the art of war. If you want to defeat your enemy, you have to know their abilities. You have to learn their abilities so you can counter them. And that's what he means. Not using them as a weapon, but be able to counter them. And that's the most modern and most gone to term, is to use it as a weapon against them. I prefer to just be able to counter them.
Isn't art of war more about logistics than it is tactics?
Well, it's more about logic, which is the logistics of putting things in order. And that's what we're talking about here. To put things in order, if they're going to give him 133 million pounds of aid, then the proper process is to use that aid for their rehabilitation of their own sexual deviance. Then that means they should have those sexual deviants back, for those are the ones that are known to need it.
I want the British government to put the British people at the top of the agenda.
That's the same thing Trump says. He wants the American people to be at the foundation, to be the entirety of this system. Without the American people, the system has nothing to regulate. You have to put that into consideration. And by delineating that American just solely, born on the American soil aspect of the common law and the living soul, it's delineated through all this legislation that's induced us to believe the grammar styles of that language, which are not words. They are terms of art of that particular venue, whether it be legal or commercial entities.
We should make no apologies for that.
None.
Learn from Trump. Let's be unapologetically patriotic. Because right now, Britain is a joke.
And I absolutely agree. What do you guys think?
I don't think that they're doing it right. I mean, no.
Well, not at the moment, no. But do you think that's the right plan? Is to stop giving them aid and make them take back their rapists who, in
Well,
order to,
even what you were just talking about what that they would have people to regulate, I took issue with that statement that you made because their job is not here to regulate us. Their job is to basically secure our rights, make sure that we can live and pursue happiness. I mean, they're basically our slaves. They're supposed to be here for our beck and call to do what we need so that we can do what we want.
right, and understand the expansion of that 133 million pounds that they're sending out in USAID to Pakistanis. If they cut that and send all those rapists back, we no longer have housing of criminals. We no longer have rehabilitation programs for those criminals. The only expense that is then suffered is the exportation or deportation. And that, again, is not just saving 133 million pounds, but the extra money that would have been spent over years of housing and rehabilitation programs at the expense of our very own public again. We shouldn't be immigrating. We shouldn't be allowing them. And this is why it's supposed to be that you're supposed to be under the lawful pretenses immigrating. And what's happened is we have so many countries that are exiling, in a sense, their criminals and telling them to get the fuck out of the country. Okay,
So,
they go to another country.
Can you prove that though? I mean, do you know for certain that they're getting rid of the worst of their worst and places like England are accepting them?
Biden took a lot in why he was in presidency. Trump actually did before him too, but at certain points. But every president has, and they actually, whenever you do take any kind of exile in, they have to be basically what's called paroled, right? That's what that it's a I'm immigrant.
I honestly don't know how it works. I mean, I don't mind admitting I'm very ignorant in that regard.
Well, it's if dig into the Customs and Border Protection, and then ICE and everything. It's funny because actually there's a company called ICE that actually owns the Clearinghouse Corporation. It's all banking. Every single time they take someone in, they create a new security, so they get money for that, right? When you take somebody in, it's like for instance, if the government hires a government worker, they'll first put them on probation, right? It's like a tryout period. Okay, visa.
Yeah, I get that. And they watch them. Allegedly, they check their green card or won't renew it if they haven't been good, or if they've been too bad, they just get them kicking the hell out. I understand enough of it.
I mean, but then when they're accepted, they put them up. They parole them. Right?
Well, here,
payroll. Yeah, that part. MasterCard.
Well, here's an article from BBC. And again, this is BBC. I can't verify, as it says verify. I can't verify the accuracy of any of this. This is just what they report. But in their report, it says newly released figures. And this is 1st of October 2024. So just a few months back, about 5 months ago, 4 or 5 months. And it says newly released figures about immigrants or about migrants with criminal convictions are being used to attack Democrats for the border policies under President Biden and Kamala Harris. Donald Trump has used the figures to claim that 13,000 convicted murderers entered our country during her, see, they can't even, 3.5-year period as border czar, and said they were allowed to openly roam our country. But both claims are misleading. The new figures released by Immigration and Customs Enforcement do show some 13,000 non-citizens convicted of homicide were on its record and not in its custody. So that point is true. However, the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees ICE, said the figures over a period of many years include migrants who entered the U.S. under Trump presidency and previous administrations. So what they're saying is it wasn't 13,000 that came in one Trump presidency or one Biden presidency, but over multiple presidencies, 13,000 convicted murderers, whether the border is closed or not, are in the United States. That's 13,000.
It's a higher risk.
That's
Hey,
not
can I tell you something?
That's not counting any other category of crimes. Again, I can't attest to the accuracy of this, but it does say a lot when the source sticks to the number and says it's been over.
So
it validates the number.
the numbers are that millions are illegally crossing the southern border every day. But I tell you, I don't mind admitting to some degree I'm pretty close to that area. And if millions were coming through, we'd have to at least be seeing hundreds of thousands coming through where we're at. And we don't.
Right.
So it's stupid. It's not even real. I don't buy it.
Again, it's not real, but the number millions is correct. But the term day is not. Millions in a matter of years, yes. But millions in a day, no.
Even so, I would see some evidence. I would have to see some evidence of that right where I'm sitting. And I've been sitting here for many, many weeks and months, and even did it last year, and never saw a single whatever coming north. I mean, I don't know what I'm looking for, but it doesn't happen. I would see people. How would I not?
But see, that goes to the concept that just because you didn't see it, it means it's not happening and you can't believe it. And I want you to understand this concept from the biblical scriptures. You never saw Jesus perform a miracle, yet you believe it did because it was recorded, and its accuracy is debatable, but withstands time, that it is somewhat true.
By the way, I do have a Bible dictionary right here, actually, in front of me. And this is it says a day, and this is symbolic language used by the poets and prophets of the Old and New Testament. And it says a day is actually an infinite time, a prophetic year, gospel period. So indefinite time, basically. And a week, by the way, is also 7 years. So when they say a day, it's literally, it's undefined.
Yeah, the Shabbat. You have a Shabbat every 7 days, and you have a Shabbat every 7 years. One is for the father, one is for the mother. So anyway, let's get back to the videos. Our next video, as it relates to that very concept of the false accusations of women, and it's sad because it's part of the DemoCrazy where this society, this false patriarch, promises a protection, and people believe in it so much that they're willing to stretch certain bounds in hopes that it will not just protect them, but afford them an advantage or something superseding that which they fear out of emotional context. And there's many different contexts why people make these false claims, no matter whether it's a woman making a false claim of rape or a Walmart employee making a false claim of a theft. It's all the same. So let's take a look and tell me what you think about this.
Not true. We need to know now, and we need to stop the progression of this whole thing from getting worse, because it's just going to get bigger and bigger.
And only on 7 News, this police interview with a Fort Collins woman. She was later convicted for making phony rape accusations, and the man she accused was arrested and put in jail 1 year ago today. Well, tonight, he is speaking to 7 News reporter Lindsay Watts about why he is still struggling to pick up the pieces.
It's definitely a reminder of what I've been through.
Accused of rape, cuffed at the police station the day before Thanksgiving.
I can ask you some questions regarding the crime of sexual assault.
Watching it back 1 year later, Dustin Toth says his life still feels out of control. His accuser, Catherine Bennett, a coworker he'd started dating.
And right now, the statements that I've been given.
People, the employment platform is not a dating platform. I highly suggest you very seriously think about these things, coming from firsthand experience.
Do you really want firsthand experience? Do you really want that? Because I can give you firsthand experience in this exact situation.
Tell us.
It is why I lost. It is why I no longer work for the state of Washington. I dated a woman, and things went a little sour. She didn't like the things I was saying to her, but there was no threats. There was no harm. It was just stuff around work. But we had been dating around work for the last year. They didn't like it. You want to talk about demon crazy? That's that whole leftist government sort of idea. They took her word 100% and didn't want to hear it. Damn thing I said.
Getting Keith.
What?
Keith lying, bro. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm telling the church.
Yeah, that's brother Melvin Washington. He just came on. We're gonna enjoy his presence here too. He's gonna have some stuff to say, and I hope people pay attention to this man. He's a wise young man on a righteous path. I firmly believe, in my opinion, and I hope he has some good input. I'm sure he does. Finish up, Dean.
Well, and the other thing that had happened years before that was I had also been, again, falsely accused by a woman I was very close to. She was able to use those courts very effectively to, keep me not only down, but away from her, which I would have left her alone if she had just said so. But, they let you, I was drawn into a situation where we were living together. And then it just, boom, she's running to the police, running to the courts. I didn't know anything about it at the time. That's what got me into all this, was the fact that they felt like they could just impose these restrictions on me that included not owning an alleged firearm. But, the threat's real. If they think you have any sort of Second Amendment protection on you, they're going to come after you, and you got to deal with that. And that was the reason I fought it all the way to the Ninth Circuit before I just realized how fruitless it really was. None of them would take my case. None of them would hear what I did. That was my baptism into this whole world, learning all this stuff.
And see, that's the destruction of setting thine house in order. See, this false patriarch and its welfare system is a system of protection for the women and children. Never once mentions the man unless it comes to an obligation of child support or custody or alimony or something like that, divorce. And this is the sad state that we're in, is that society believes that they should fear the men and protect the women. And I'm going to tell you right here and now, the statistics show that women are profoundly more the object of child, or the perpetrator of child abuse, than the man. I think it's like 72% of child abuse cases are perpetrated by the mother. No one else.
This then. So this is what this mother did. This mother wanted me to be very special to her children, and she drew me into that world. I needed to be a dad to her daughters, and I did the best I could. But then if she just rips me out of their life, how is that good for those daughters? Clearly they're not mine. They had dads of their own, so I don't really have any claim to them legally. But on a moral and personal level, how was she doing those children good by having me be somebody they learn to love and then ripping me from their lives?
All right, so I'm gonna explain to you, and I understand totally what you're saying, but the best way to show your interest in this matter, and it might sound a little unorthodox, but this will be the proper way to perfect your interest in the equity and the abstract collateral you put in. And this is what I mean: the time, the affection, the times you had to go to the gas station, the times you had to drop them off at school, or maybe the time you went and got Pampers, the ride to the store within the back seat. All of those things there, you have statements that you can prove that exist. Then those are the things you want to invoice the case manager, caseworker. Now, when you invoice that on the county level, you're taking the interest in your service or your labor that you put into the family. When you secure that on the secretarial level, you're perfecting the interest in the property.
Can somebody hear me?
You can actually perfect the interest in your work that you put into their account. Now, you can't take.
I get your point. You're coming at it from the takings clause under the Fifth Amendment. I get what you're saying.
Right. Completely. So if you're going to assert that, then that's what you need to get to the staff attorney or the attorney for the bank of the court.
My story was just a story from years back. It's almost irrelevant today. It was just trying to set the stage for this leftist DemoCrazy situation we're in, and I felt like I hit it head on in multiple ways in many years that really caused me some, some harm.
Yeah, and when it comes to that, well, real quick here, Hadassah, I want to mention the thing about that is the equity aspect. You have to come with equity, and this relates to mother and father and child. In this sense, father plants the seed. Father plants the seed in mother. Mother manufactures the baby. Now, most women in this false patriarch society and those children are protected by that false patriarch because the claim is that mom is the owner of the child. She's the one that made the child. Now, I want you to think in this aspect the same way as a car manufacturer. Now, I'm the guy that wants to go buy a car, and so I go to the manufacturer to buy the car. Okay, does the manufacturer now own that car? No. So who does the child really belong to? Does it belong to mother? Does it belong to father? Or does it belong to the covenant that was created in the consummation of the creation of that child? See, you can only control that which you create. So if you have two procreators, then they both have some kind of control. Now this goes to that equity as it set thine house in order. If you cannot pay tribute to the true patriarch and you give up that tributation to him and you start paying tribute to the false patriarch thinking they're going to protect those women and children, guys, it's your fault. You're the ones that implemented this government. Remember, it was the feminist movement that women stood up for to get those rights, supposedly. Women, you already have your rights. Those rights are obligations set in a role of family lifestyle, not some religious lifestyle or some political lifestyle. Go ahead, folks.
Okay, so just talking about what you just referred to, number one, yes, women are protected. Females, on the other hand, are not. That's different. And that's how they have most women classified as females. That's one of the bait and switches, right? Number two,
yeah, it's
as far as yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Yeah, your chattel.
yes,
right?
they are protected. They're protected from everything, including free speech. It went that deep.
Yeah, but I mean, females
Absolutely.
are not. Is my point.
Absolutely.
Right, chattel. That goes back to Leviticus, right? Chapter 27, all that. But you also have the part of what he was talking about, equity and invoicing. The master file, this is going back to taxes. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan, but I find a lot of it follow the money, right? Taxes are the money. There's a form which is for a country-to-country report and also for a tax jurisdiction and constituent entity listing. Keith, we talked about it before, which is an 8975 form. On the instructions, always read the instructions. So just look at the form, read the instructions. It actually talks about a tax jurisdiction, and it also gives a definition of a tax jurisdiction resident. One of the things that it talks about.
You said 89 what form? What
75.
form? 89, 75.
Yep.
Well, I'm not a resident for what it's worth, but you go on.
Yeah, that term resident comes up everywhere, folks.
So when you read that definition under the definitions for the resident, right, basically it says that it is somebody that is not billing, right, or invoicing, because invoice is that's inequity. It has to be dictated into the record. Invoice.
Orally, yep, invoice.
Yep. Yeah, that's what the master files kept on as well. Is
Alina, hold on just a second. I'm sorry for the interruption. Alina, it says your device is not connected. Maybe go out and try to come back in, but it says device not connected. And welcome, Brianna.
Yeah, I tried to bring Alina in. I don't know what's going on with her device, but she's very knowledgeable, so I'm gonna try to help her out. So that's probably why I've been going in and out, but I'm trying to bring more people too. I'm sorry.
If she's on Bluetooth, or if they are on Bluetooth, you might have to take it off. StreamYard's weird about that. Just FYI. But if you read under that definition, basically, if you do not invoice for your expenses, right, like he was talking about, our time is a commodity. Our labor is a commodity. If you do not invoice for that, then you fall underneath their tax jurisdiction. If you do, you create your own, meaning, this goes into the whole manorial role. There's many manners in God's house. Your manners are important, guys. Say please.
Right.
Say thank
Etiquette.
you. Appreciate
Right.
that account.
Dignity and etiquette. This is.
Yes.
I ask people all the time, did you get a high school diploma? Think about that diploma. Does that mean you are a diplomat? You have some kind of diplomacy? What is diplomacy but dignity and etiquette in your communication with foreign entourages?
Yep, basically. And that the diploma, then they, basically once you go through college and everything, associate is lesser than a diplomat. A master is lesser than an associate, right? It
Yep.
kind of goes reversed. Funny enough, but
and your diploma. And that diploma in your diplomatic capacity of being in diplomacy is all about amnesty. Amnesty is what, guys? Peaceful agreements. What the fuck are contracts?
Well,
the law is contract.
Contract makes the law.
Exactly. So make it peaceful. Make sure that it's equity for you and beneficial to you. And that if there is any detriment, you see any detriment, you have to speak on it so you can possibly prevent it. There are some things that are seen as detrimental that you have to allow for progressiveness.
But you also have to make sure that you don't make that just a one-sided contract if you are the one drafting it. Correct.
Just like equal consideration. Just like equal consideration for equal benefit. In that equal consideration, if you see a detriment, you have to make it known so that both parties or all parties can share the detriment equally as well. That is equity. It is a sort of equality, and if you want equity, you must first come with equity. Therefore, in your contracts, you have to bear that equal consideration for both benefit and detriment.
And willing to compromise, right?
Yes.
That's why equity starts from a negative
compromise,
space,
yes, with promise.
Yep. Not a 0.0, right? So negative space, you meet in the middle, right? That part.
Absolutely.
So that goes into the taxing. So I would suggest you guys read that those instructions. There's a lot of stuff in there, including where the Sir S.U.A.R. name came from, and is how it's used, and a lot of other fun things like constituents. Right?
And it's funny how we start out a conversation about a man wrongly accused of rape, and we end up on this topic. Why is that? Because all of this DemoCrazy shit is based on those legislations. Every last bit of it, folks. From a false patriarch. They're leading you into insanity by inducing you to remember things instead of learning how to think for yourself. By educating yourself through your own research. Well, by educating yourself through your own research. And this is something I tell people all the time. I'll never stop. Do not believe me. Do not believe the neighbor. Do not believe the government. For crying out loud, do not believe your mother. Don't believe any of these other panelists. Do your own research so you know. Yep. So let's continue on with this and see where it goes again.
Really quick, because this goes into exactly what this is. Because this is actually this goes into exactly what they're talking about with the whole rape situation and everything, or with the women being more protected. There was an indictment I saw a police officer that drew up it was a custody case, and the man on it was actually the one making the accusation, and the woman, and it was a daughter too. And I would use daughter and son, guys, instead of child. It's a little bit better. But what was interesting is the the father making the accusation under gender, right? Or I think it said gender on the form. It had a U for him. For the police officer, it had an N. And then for the mother and the daughter, it had F. What was the U? Yeah, I know, right? Oh, sheep are tax exempt, right?
Well, wait till we get to our next video.
Okay.
But in the meantime, this topic about this rape and everything, like I said, it's the false accusations and the presumption of women being right when they make these accusations, always listening to the women. No, we're getting to a point in time where we need to stop listening to the women and listen to the reality of what they're saying. Because most people will tell on themselves through their babble if you just listen. They will lie on themselves because people have become so used to accepting the little lies, they think that them lying, making those little lies don't make a difference. And if you start paying attention, you will see how much people really lie. And that's the fault. That's where you see that they're iniquitous. And
Yeah, that was it. Even the courts didn't want to hear that, because I had that. That was part of what I tried to point out was that she had told on herself. If she knew that these things were true, then they were true. She admitted they were true. So I told the truth. How am I being in trouble now for telling the truth? Exactly.
Exactly. So anyway, let's finish up here.
Of her police interview, as Toth sat in jail, her story fell apart.
I'm not telling you to drop charges. I want to know the facts about what happened.
Bennett, later convicted of making it all up. She was sentenced to 35 days in jail, then
35 days in jail. This is the point that is fucking ridiculous. And I can look it up for you if you want. And matter of fact, I will. But in the scripture, it talks about bearing false witness. And the recourse in bearing false witness in that scripture says that if you accuse a man of rape and his sentence is to suffer 25 years, the bearing of false witness to that charge carries that same sentence. I hope you understand this. This is bullshit that you go around making false accusations that ruin a man's entire life and suffer 35 days.
Didn't they say he was in jail for a year over this?
Yeah, I don't know what all it was, but it was definitely more than 35 days. And even if it was one day, it still ruined his entire life because of the false accusation that was published. And now everybody will talk about it the rest of their life. As long as they know him and see him, it's always going to be on the top of their mind.
And they'll never publish a redaction. They never, yeah. It's not good.
Bearing false witness, one of the greatest sins in the scripture. Owe no man anything but to love one another, and to lie about another man proves that you not love them, because you're causing a detriment. You're causing them a debt.
The problem is because the court system is based off of police false witness statements and affidavits, so they can't make the punishment that great.
Right, and that's why we have to fix that. Those little white lies that people think they can get away with, whether it be process or the actual words on the papers that they're supposed to be using in that process. It's bullshit, all of it.
And probation.
I don't feel that's justice.
Toth says he's the one who's been punished. The Army National Guardsman lost his civilian job and was out of work for nearly 6 months after the arrest.
I've been behind on my car payment ever since.
He has his friends, but the emotional pain is still there.
I feel like I'm incapable to actually trust.
And I want to point out too, not only himself, but now his friends and family have to pay for it. Think about this, not just in a false rape charge, but what if you were falsely raped or falsely charged with pedophilia? Now you and your family and friends have to suffer that too. That's how extensive this insanity is running, and we have to stop it. Those little white lies that you think you can get away with for your own protection, for you women and children, while you men don't stand up properly, this is getting ridiculous and out of hand.
So, Keith, you got to realize it's akin to not having the proper sticker or the proper papers when you get pulled over by these armed thugs.
Absolutely.
It's no different. It's just this made up bullshit used to put people in cages and subjugate them to this fucking code that they never even knew existed in the first damn place for doing nothing. As if a piece of paper protects anybody. Are we fucking serious here? I mean, it's just fucking ridiculous.
Absolutely agree.
They have a piece of paper that protects them. They have crime insurance. They have employee dishonesty insurance. They have errors and omissions insurance. That protects them.
Correct. Correct. Now, what she just said was vital. And I'm going to tell you another thing, man, of what I learned from my experience. When you don't properly know how to answer to an acquisition, it's one of the most dangerous things you could ever experience in the United States.
Wait. Are you saying telling the truth is violent?
No. I said when you don't know
the truth. A piece of paper protects no one.
I get what you're saying, and you're true. I'm not disputing anything you're saying. I'm not disputing anything you're saying. I'm building from what you said. If you have a heart to listen. What I'm saying
All right, just making sure the words are right there you're using.
You see what I'm saying? So this is what I'm saying. When we go through those things, or when those ordeals or burdens present themselves, it's important that we understand how to answer appropriately. Even though we have a right to remain innocent, the accuser also has rights of its own. And sometimes these two qualifications that I just named can get in the way of what the court's intentions and true establishment purposes are for. If that makes any sense to you, and what I'm trying to say is they're a third party intervener in a sense, and sometimes we and our emotions can get clouded in what's going on. And why I say this, because the court is just a court. That's just a trust. It's not a bank, it's just a trust. The court has its own bank. And a proper way to answer to those acquisitions, I know we're live on Republic, but we don't want the wrong people to understand what I'm saying in entirety. Well, there are certain channels you can take to, how can I say, put it on a proxy mode or proxy setting, challenge the credentials that have been pledged and oathed to secure the policy, challenge the terms of the indirect mortgage that the officer just pledged, and meet the authority for that particular venue in a private setting to offset, set off, settle, or defer, right? And I get it. When we're emotionally entangled with someone or individual, that can cloud the overall subject matter of what's going on. I totally get it. I've been there. I've experienced it with a young lady, not to that degree, but I had my own experiences, and I'm pretty sure the females have had experiences with certain males. But it doesn't change the fact that, hey, they're making a pledge, and we don't need to forget what is the task at hand. And that's to properly answer to that acquisition appropriately through the proper channels and making sure we perfect and secure our interests. Doesn't matter what industry it is, whether it's a court, criminal justice, real estate, banking, accounting, audio, whatever the case may be, those are the circumstances throughout all the industries in the United States.
And so what Melvin is saying when he's talking about those acquisitions, this here is Title 48, Federal Acquisition Regulations. Now
Right.
this 52.212-5, and it says contract terms and conditions required to implement statutes or executive orders, commercial products and commercial services. So when they're talking about monetary fines, fees, penalties, taxes, imposes, excises and stuff, that's what we're talking about here. That contract terms and conditions are required to implement them. Okay, that means there's already a contract there. Those statutes and these codes and everything, these are contract terms. All you have to do in offer is accept them with your equal consideration for your personal services to do the paperwork. That's it. You are wanting me to do paperwork, right? Is it official documentation for government instrumentalities? Then that would be a negotiation. I need to negotiate for my equal consideration.
So things like going to the court, and I'm actually looking at one right now and getting something that's called a register of action from the records department, and the meeting minutes, right? Or the minute orders is another term for it.
Minutes of the meeting, right? The secretary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Robert's Rules of Business, right? Or order.
Think about that term, secretary. It's secret airy. What is airy? Well, that's the breath. It literally means discussion. It's a secret discussion where the minutes of the meeting are held in private, but you have access to them if they're using your name in any instance. It better be in the minutes of those meetings showing that they gave you equal consideration. If it's not, then there was no equal consideration come, and therefore the contract terms and conditions weren't properly implemented. No authority. You have to state your equity in it. Like Brother Melvin said. Know it and put it up there right up front. It's like I say all the time. If they want to play in this big poker game in their house using their chips, and they want to bet me 75 million, I'm going to use the Lord's money, and I'm going to double it, triple it, quadruple it, whatever. Let's play with the big dogs. Know the real value.
A woman again.
He says it's telling his story that's helping him heal.
Giving me the opportunity to share it gives me the opportunity to clear my name, because I still feel like my name is not cleared.
Lindsay Watt, 7 News.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where, like I said, once that accusation is made, it's hard to recuperate from that. It's called irreparable harm. It never goes away. It's like that if you kill somebody and it causes irreparable harm to the rest of the friends and family of that person that you killed, because it'll never be made whole again. This is the stuff we're trying to prevent when it relates to all this stuff we're doing today in this DemoCrazy, all the insanity, and letting our children be raised up in it and think it's okay. I don't think it's okay that anybody would treat my son as a daughter. That's not the way nature works. And I would never let my child believe so, even if he got it from somewhere else. If I need to remove my child from a school that keeps allowing him to concede this transgender shit when that's a fallacy, I'll do it. And that's what people aren't doing.
No, they're not. And
so,
just a new term I saw, speaking of the air, right? I was flipping through it, looking for something else, and I found this in Black's Law. It's also in Bouvier's, though I double checked. It was the term I'd never seen before. There's a few of them, but it's a statutes heiress, an heir apparent who has been placed by conveyance in possession of his ancestor's estate during such ancestor's lifetime. There's also astrarius, which is in Old English law a householder belonging to the house, a person in actual possession of a house. Then there's astrarius heiress, where the ancestor by conveyance hath set his heir apparent and his family in a home in his lifetime. And then there was one more here.
Yeah, that's explaining both the legal and equity titles, where one has possession and use, which is the beneficiary, and the legal title of the passing of that property from the decedent and into the hands of the heir apparent. And this goes to the principle of the father. It is by any reason and logic that all men know inherently in their heart, as well as all women, that a man passes his estate to his son or even his daughter, but it's to a next of kin and not a foreigner.
And the endowment is from the woman, the dowry.
Right.
That goes directly to the daughter.
Right. So, heir apparent. Heir apparent.
And this is during the lifetime, though. So
correct.
It's
a revocable trust. A revocable trust as expressed. The living will.
One other place for a house that I thought is called astrum. ASTRUM. It's a house or place of habitation. So when we look these up, it said that these are very much, terms of law and everything, but they're just not used anymore, which is, to me, from what I could find, basically saying that it's a term that holds weight, but they haven't been able to redefine it or refine it to their purposes.
So, that's because there's an inherent natural superior purpose. So let's take a look at the next one. I told you this next one would be beyond the bounds. I told you we were talking about the DEI, which we're now dealing with both transgender, and we now have a communications out there about transhumanism. The cyborg type stuff where they're implanting things. They call it transhumanism. We also have, lo and behold, trans species. Let's see what we got here. Oops, what did I do? Lose my screen share? No, it's there. Oh, there we are. So watch this insanity. This is one of the most insane stories I've ever heard. And when it comes down to the expansion of this insanity, I cannot believe that there were enough people in a public education system that allowed this to happen to begin with before they had to say, oh, we can't do that no more.
They removed the litter box from my son's school's bathroom this week, and
Why would you have a litter box in a school bathroom? Because of this insanity. Pay attention, folks.
I'm pissed about it because I fought for 5 or 6 months to get that litter box put into the bathroom because my son, who identifies as a cat.
Wait a minute. You guys hear that? We live in an insane society.
Yeah.
It's the insane. The society is so insane that we now have adults believing that children can decide whether they want to be a different animal. This is truly disgusting and very concerning.
And being allowed because the court systems classify us as different kinds of animals and chattel.
I cannot believe that we've gotten to the point where this woman, and I'm sure many of you recognize her from many of her other videos, she's just insane. And I can't believe that society is still allowing this woman out in public to keep posting this kind of insanity. It's got to be a secret agent type thing or something. But this woman just, I don't know. I don't see any connection with her and anybody else that would say that she's actually working for a government as an ops or something, because, but at the same time, I can't believe it's not, because it's so fucking insane. How could anybody live in society and believe this kind of shit to this extent, and the rest of society still let them go about their way? How is it that society doesn't see that allowing our children to grow up in insanity is in fact a harm and detriment to them that is irreparable if you allow them to develop that through certain stages of life, where it imprints and becomes inherently repetitive like muscle memory? You have to teach them reality. Come the fuck on.
He only uses litter box at home, and when he would go to school, he would refuse to use the toilet. So he was holding his pee all day. He ended up getting a really bad UTI. It lasted for weeks.
This is the same woman, like I said, she puts out videos all the time, and she decided she was going to make muffins for her husband using her vaginal yeast from a yeast infection. Disgusting.
Because he kept holding his pee. So I told the school, I said, for my son's safety, for his health, we have to install a litter box into the bathroom. And they told me no. And after months and months of me going back and forth and agreeing to pay for the litter and to come and clean it out every day, they finally said yes. Okay, we can put the litter box in the bathroom. But now they said because of some, I guess, executive order, they have to remove the litter box from the school.
So, kind of like the first video we watched, where they allowed it after certain debates. They opened the border and let all these illegal immigrants in, and now they want to change their mind and send them back. All about the money, folks. She was willing to pay for it, so they said, "Okay, we'll run with the insanity. We'll let you run with that insanity as long as you pay for it, right?"
Yeah.
Fucking pathetic. If you don't see how it works the same through all levels, top to bottom, the smartest people to the insane, obviously insane and mental.
Because the school is not tolerant of trans species students anymore.
They never were. This is pathetic, people. What do you guys got on it?
Sounds a bit insane. And yeah, there's a good question. Who encourages this? Who brings this along to get to this point? Or is she just a lone wolf out there on YouTube making a bunch of noise? I mean, is she really getting traction like at her local school for this stuff? Obviously, it sounds like she did. So yeah, yikes.
Yep.
Yeah, but because of a federal start off in Texas, if I remember correctly, Keith, you might remember we've talked about this before, where they've classified all government buildings, schools, the internet as a mental health institution.
Well, yeah, and that's one of those things I talk about on here. On this Panelverse, on these YouTube channels, on your socials, it's all a mental universe. In that mental universe, you have all kinds of things going on. And the biggest thing that's going on is it allows people to more freely and broadly express their emotions. And so we see this insanity. And when they use these devices to be able to do so, they don't just do it in their own private homes. They are doing it through these TikTok videos, through these YouTube channels, through this Panelverse. And if you watch that insanity, you'll see how much it's drawing into everything in the public.
Even the alleged government, there to secure rights, is doing virtual Zoom court. It's virtual. It's not real at all, and it's right there in front of you because they call it virtual court. I don't know. It's like, thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you for your proper use of the term. If you don't understand it, then I ask you to recuse yourself for somebody that is competent. Virtual, perfect. Absolutely.
WebEx, right? Because that's one of the other platforms that the courts use, especially here where I'm at. They use WebEx, right? I just found out that WebEx is actually owned by Cisco, which is that lovely food distribution company corporation, which goes into the Department of Agriculture, which is the SNAP program, which is where the judicial officers have most of their slush fund, right?
Yep.
Yep. Very interesting. It's all connected, huh?
Oops, what did we lose? Okay, so the next one I got goes to the system of values that people use. That video earlier that we discussed about not using your employment as a dating site. There are certain dating sites and dating shows that we see today that would show you perfect examples of what goes on and how people will lie to you and think it's okay and get caught up in those lies and have it shoved in their face. So pay attention to this next one.
Why'd you end up popping his balloon?
Probably the pants. Sorry. I think you're dressed really nicely.
Appreciate it.
It's just a little flashy.
A little flashy. She's gonna pop the balloon and say no, she's not interested in this guy because his pants are a little flashy. Oops, let me pull that up and rewind that. This is a dating show that I can't remember what it's called, but each contestant has a balloon, and they pop it when they find something that turns them off and makes them decide no, they don't want to date this person.
Why'd you end up popping his balloon?
Probably the pants. Sorry. I think you're dressed really nicely.
Appreciate it.
It's just a little flashy for me.
A few moments later.
You're like my type, is what I'm saying.
I wish
You're my type. You're my type. Now look at this stuff, guys, and if I can't say that it's real, but it does look real, and it does look flashy. But look at all this stuff. Watch this.
Flashy.
No, not flashy at all. But you seem like you're about your business, and I really like that. You seem very put together, and I like that.
Yeah, all right.
And I don't mean this to seem in any way one-sided, as if though it's only the women that do this. This is quid pro quo. Men do this the same in many other different arenas. Not necessarily just. I don't think men care so much about your style and stuff as you do about men and their style. Usually we don't care about what kind of purse you're wearing or what kind of jeans. We just want to know that you care about us and are loving and appreciative of having you on our arm. That in my view anyway. argue with it if you want, but that would be your view.
So
I
is
was
it
going to say your view, because not everybody's like that. We're all different. Right?
Yeah, and that's important to understand in this society is we have to quit being so delineated into these things about remembering this and not being able to think outside the box with abstract concepts and coming up with innovations. That's the
Creative.
progression. Yeah, that's the progression of mankind. What we're doing now is stagnating it into a stage of insanity where it's going to end up bottlenecking because of that very insanity. It will fall apart because it's not meant to work.
No. I like her. She cool, but she said he was flashy.
See? He's already on it. And he's the one that mentions it. Now pay attention to what he says, because she's the one that claimed the other guy, who isn't near as flashy, he just had some speckles on a pair of jeans. This guy's all decked out in some nice clothes, looks like, as well as the bling bling, right? So watch.
Because his pants, and I got him a $1.2 million watch.
$1.2 million watch.
$400,000.
$400,000 chain around his neck. What about the things on his fingers and his other wrist? Dude's wearing a lot of flashy stuff, right?
Chain. I know I'm flashy, so I don't know why she chose me. If he said he flashy because his pants.
Yeah, he's too flashy because of his pants, and picked out the flashiest guy there. Women and men, when you put out these little lies, you get caught. They're obvious to everybody. Obvious to everybody.
Yeah, he saw exactly what she was going after.
And that's what I'm asking people to do in regards to this society. Understand what they're going after and understand the money is going to show you. Okay? So let's look at the next one. When we talk about all this insanity and learning what it's about and being able to protect yourself, particularly against these violent policy enforcers and their insanity.
Do you really want to go before the magistrate for this?
I do not. I really don't.
I mean, I'd like to let you get back to work.
So why are you harassing me right now?
Because I've asked you several times for your identification and you're failing to provide it.
There is no need or law or reason why I should have to provide my ID.
There's no need that you feel.
Do you feel like I committed a crime?
It's very possible.
You feel like I've committed a crime?
Yes.
What crime do you feel like I committed?
Being in possession of that unauthorized inspection.
Can you show me anywhere in Virginia law where
being in possession of an unauthorized inspection sticker? How do you get an inspection sticker that's unauthorized?
Keys to a vehicle is reason enough for me to have to provide my ID. When you never saw me operate this vehicle.
You're going to end up being detained if you don't just show
Why
me.
are you detaining me? Why are you detaining me?
For further investigation.
It's sad that knowing the law.
For further investigation, for what? A traffic citation, which is not criminal but civil, and you want to prosecute it as if though it's criminal because he didn't comply? See, that's the thing about the contract law. In order for him to implement that statute, this man here, he has a contract with that statute already. He's already bound by that statute. He can't just go blatantly involving everybody he sees in his purview as part of that contract. That's why they want the ID. Guess what? That says you're in that contract too. You contracted to be a resident for the state of Iowa, whether it be an ID or a driver's license. That's a government issued ID saying you're an employee or some agent capacity for doing the official paperwork.
But they don't have to give that. They don't have to give that information out on a records request. So if they don't have to give it out as part of their employees, why are you presenting it for all kinds of other nonsense? Is the question.
If you do the correct records request, they do. You have to do a TOPS request, not a FOIA. Or you can do if you go through your state open records requests, there's and where I'm at, there's two different ones. And one of them is actually straight directly through the DA's office. The other one is actually through the D.U.M.B and the Department of Revenue. If you do
They
those ones,
actually got all
they do
kinds
have
of
to go.
RCWs that say they're not going to give that information out. That if it's got a picture on it, they don't have to show it. If it's got a date of birth, they don't have to show it. All the stuff that your alleged identification shows, they don't have to give you that information about government workers, at least according to their rules.
Well, when it comes to the direct government worker, but one thing
Nah,
I did find out.
that's most definitely not true because I do know most of them have to have a what you call a statement of interest on their onboarding procedures. If you look up the onboarding process of their employment, you will see certain provisions that protect the public on them identifying from their marshaling, what I mean by their rank, and their duties and responsibilities. Every public agency, state agency has a charter organization, and basically a charter organization where they have to post who they are, their title, their position, the mission for the actual agency. All of that is public information, along with their statement of interest, meaning all property that they own, they have to pledge it in case civil liability. I've never heard of that.
And what you said, post, by the way, that's one of the websites that you can actually find a lot of this information on, is the Post website, right? The peace officer training site. Yeah. So if you look on Post, that's where a lot of this is at. I actually just recently found there's a credibility, a peace officer credibility disclosure statement that is required for the DA's office. This is a recent map as of 2022, which I found interesting, where they actually have to disclose if there's any investigations, if there might be conflicts of interest. They actually have to tell the DA. The DA is supposed to tell the defendant or defendant's counsel, yet they never do.
Yeah.
Yep.
She pretty sharp. She pretty sharp. What's her name? What's your name?
That's Sadasa.
Hey, Sadasa. I'm Washington.
So they saying that.
So the premise here that that I want to speak on in this video is know the law
and proper sticker precision.
Outside of that,
to know where we got somebody's coming through. Somebody mute up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So the premise of this video I want to point out is in the foundation of this country, the forefathers knew the law. And that's why they drew up the foundational documents as the construction of the laws of this nation. The following generations grew up learning that law because their parents knew the law and taught them the law themselves, just like their parents taught them reading, writing, arithmetic, and all these other talents and stuff, and trades and all of this. They taught them everything. So again, the public education,
like accounting and record keeping.
Yes, double entry ledgering, the whole 9 yards. And so it's when we started handing these responsibilities over to other people to do them for us, that this society started gaslighting traditional family living. And in that gaslighting, which is like an emotional abuse to the traditional way of living through propaganda and what do you call it? Subliminal illusions and delusions and things like this through the very advertising.
Indoctrination.
Right, indoctrination, inducement, seduction, all of it. And people have to pay attention and start opening their eyes and ears and understand that the only way you're going to save the next generation is by being their teachers. Quit putting that responsibility on somebody else, because in effect it is the true benefit is knowledge. And if you suscept them to the false knowledge that doesn't teach them anything but to remember, then they lose or don't comprehend or don't acquaint or achieve the ability to think for themselves. Again, don't believe the neighbor, don't believe the government, don't believe your mother, for crying out loud. Learn to do your own research so you know. It's so imperative to being able to implement these things in your own life firsthand, rather than continuously just comfort and convenience of letting somebody else take that responsibility. So it's
But
great.
that's why people love trust so much, right? Because then it's their job to do it, and they can go and do what they want. And that's the part about the whole needs and wants thing.
Right. And that's why it's important for people to do things like this man here is doing, is learning his rights and asserting them. And in that assertion, he gets to educate somebody that thinks they already know. This is a Dunning-Kruger look. Okay?
Well, and it's learning your rights and taking responsibility, which is technically your lefts. That way you have in the middle, which is both.
Right, you have a balance. You understand you don't have any rights unless you can take the responsibility of enforcing them, and the only way you can enforce them is through the knowledge. So that is the true benefit.
Yeah.
Frowned upon by those who are supposed to enforce it.
You know, in Virginia, I don't know if you know this, but even if I was just walking in here with a firearm, that's not reason enough for you to stop me and talk to me or ask me for my ID. But here I am walking to work.
Depending on the circumstances.
It's not. It's not.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're a lawyer. Where'd you get your degree at?
Definitely not a lawyer.
Do you really want to go before the magistrate for this?
Definitely not a lawyer. And that's what I'm saying, folks. You don't have to be a lawyer to learn this stuff and learn how to put it into use. Absolutely. It's imperative that we do this research, that we do these debates, that we do these sessions of getting together and communicating about our different versions and stuff. What do you guys think? Do you guys see? I went through the public education system like most people, but I also went through the foster care system. And at one point, I was actually adopted when I was 10 years old. And at that point, I no longer just had the public education system, but the people that adopted me, of whom both worked for the federal government, I'll remind you, they also homeschooled me. Mechanics, agriculture, gardening, roofing, carpentry. I was heavily involved in remodeling the house they just bought after they adopted us, all kinds of things. Concrete work, tearing down the old garage, rebuilding a new one, doing automotive work. The best mechanic is one that works on his own car. Otherwise, a paid mechanic never gets to work on his own car. Like the cobbler's children goes without shoes. You have to quit making it about money and make it about the talent.
That's funny you say that. I didn't learn until much later, but my family's very Masonic, and I'm the one that doesn't do what they're told, so I wasn't invited. But that's very much how I was raised. You learn how to do everything yourself, and if you don't know how to do something, you go and learn how to.
Well, if we can, and see, that's the point. If we can teach our children how to learn without having to have a teacher in front of them, what we're doing is we're teaching them how to use their own observances, their own contemplation and comprehension to put things in order so they can see things for what they are and be able to use that knowledge along with their imagination to provide for a known outcome. This is like the principle of learning how to ride a bike. You see mom and dad ride it, and they profess it's a good thing and you'll enjoy it, so they're going to teach you. But in that teaching, it's not one session, it's over and over. As you keep taking in those observances and using that contemplation and stuff, you achieve better effects because your imagination is absolute. This is why people that learn how to ride a bike and don't ever stop learning different new ways of doing it and tricks and stuff, we have the innovation of the different things we have today, unicycles, tricycles, what do they call them?
So isn't that the irony of it all, though, Keith? Is that I didn't learn all this stuff until pretty much the child that I raised was an adult. So, and of course, my parents, in my opinion, never learned it. So, I mean, yeah, it's a generational. I mean, it was a fight of the fittest. I mean, it was just we have these children. There was food, clothing, and shelter, but not much nurturing, so we had to kind of just figure shit out.
Right. Yeah, you make a good point there, too, because I was 49 years old when my mom looked at me and said, "Keith, the police, your authority." Now, I had already had a sense for a number of years that something was seriously wrong and I had to do something about it. And so I'd already started doing some minor research and stuff and started doing various different things. And one of the things that brought me to the point where I had my last trial was the fact that I started asserting that right to travel and just had private property placards on my truck. And I'd been pulled over several times already by different jurisdictions, but then when the county sheriff pulled me over, they decided to actually arrest me and do a vehicle search and all that and charge me with other shit. And so it's a matter of comprehending that once we do learn and we come to that full realization and the aspect that we need to really step it up and start nurturing our younger generation, that younger generation has already been imprinted and it makes the job so much harder. We have to start learning this stuff much sooner and start importing it into our younger generations much sooner. That's the only way this is going to work. We've been lazy.
Wasn't it Rockefeller that funded the school system back in the 20th century? Yeah, and they said that it would take about 3 generations to basically uneducate the populace.
Yeah. And that's literally destruction. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And like I said, that public education system doesn't use knowledge. It uses a system of ledgering or journaling, even if you want to call it, historical data that is then taught to be remembered. Nobody is ever taught to think for themselves, to research that historical data and see it for what it is.
I'm glad you said the journal thing, because my grandfather was a Nazarene minister for 80 years, and he always had a book, little journal book in his pocket, and he always had a signing pen, right? That he accounted for everything.
Right, that is my authority, my writings, which I am a stranger. I am a stranger and sojourner with him on this journey, which you can read in this journal.
And that's the thing, is he accounted for every financial, but also for transactions with people, meetings. It's your story.
Yep. And so when it comes to that, your story in history, the history we see is what we've got legislated in these laws because of those legislations and everything that allow people like this to think they have authority because somebody else said so, despite no consent. They think they automatically have authority. And this guy isn't even a police officer.
Are you a police officer?
Nope, not a police officer.
Okay, well,
security. Really?
Guess what, Mr. Security Guard? No disrespect. I ain't leaving. Like I said, I'm going downstairs, and then
No, not in police parking. You're not.
Are you going to physically stop me?
I'm going to physically stop you. I'm telling you, you're not allowed.
Okay. So you're going to put your hands on me?
No, I'm not going to put my hands.
I'm telling you, you're not allowed, because his interpretation of a policy or code or rule or regulation or otherwise can never supersede your right of locomotion. Like I said, I am a stranger and sojourner with our Father which art in heaven, across all his lands.
Hands on you.
Look at it impeding my progress.
I'm allowed to impede your progress. It's my job. Stop.
I'm allowed to impede your progress. It's my job, this man says. No, you are not allowed to impede anybody's progress unless that progress is in fact a crime.
You're touching me, invading my space.
It's public property.
You're invading my space. As he approached this man is invading his space. You see that authority and how they carry it around with them?
Invading my space.
I'm allowed to go here.
No, you're not. Back up. Stop pushing me. Push me again, and I will hit you.
So he walks into the guy, again, talking about get out of his face, you're in my space, when he's the aggressor. And then when this guy pushes back after he made contact, now he's going to go ballistic. Such a brave man, huh?
He has his hand on his weapon.
You assaulted me. I did not.
Show me that says no trespassing. That one sign here says no trespassing.
He's not allowed down here. He wants to.
And he just laid his hand on me and pushed me several times. I want to speak to your supervisor.
This is public, man.
See, he's telling you, you stupid cocksucker. Put your hand on me again. I dare you, motherfucker. Uh-oh. You up real bad, motherfucker.
I'm asking.
What do you guys think?
If it's a public store, there's basically a carte blanche open invitation for them to come and shop there, unless there are no trespassing signs up. Unless there is a no trespassing,
Yeah, if it's
warning.
not clearly,
Yeah.
if it's not clearly marked, I'm telling you, I'm one of those guys. The security guard comes up to me like that, it's game over. I don't care if he's got a weapon or not. One way or another, it's game over. You're not going to continue to believe in this bullshit of your insanity, because that's the way I see it. If I'm approached by somebody that's acting insane, I'm going to treat you as if you're insane, and my only recourse is to put you down. I don't care if I can or not. Game over, you or me. I'm done playing these games. We need real men in this world. And these cocksuckers run around like this, supposing they have some kind of authority. I'll tell you. No, you won't. We have to start acting like men and put these people in their place. And of course, it doesn't always have to take this kind of situation either. I'm the guy, as you see, wearing this short mustache. People call it Hitler mustache, like I said earlier. I go to city council meetings talking about we are slowly on American soil becoming Hitler's willing executioners. I don't have to scream it out. I say it just like that. And I'm tired of it. But it's a bold statement, and they do hear it. They do see it, and I do hope it triggers them. Tired of the insanity.
It was Hitler that said that the child is the most precious treasure of the government.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look at the next one. This is how insane the police operate. This man's totally within his right, speaking common parlance. But it's kind of funny because of the topic and the confusion, which some can see, but it's only because we've been putting up these little white lies and this insanity so long that it is so serious. It shouldn't have gotten to this point. These police should have never been allowed to pull people over wantonly for any goddamn reason they think. They don't know the law. That's why it's important for us to learn it so we can impress it upon the next generation, so they too can rebut it.
How much you had to drink today? Not very much.
How much you had to drink today? Not very much. Very simple statement. But most would be induced to believe that he asked him, how much alcohol have you drank today?
Oh.
He never asked such a question, did he?
Am I required to answer your questions?
No, how much is not very much? I don't know. Not enough. Not enough? Okay. Well, you're
Not
unsteady
enough?
on your feet getting out of the vehicle and whatnot, so are you going to consent to field sobriety exercises? Absolutely not. I'll do a breathalyzer. So what I'm going to need you to do right now is I'm going to need you to put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for DUI.
He agreed to do a breathalyzer, but not the physical test. It's important here, too, because it's part of the comedy. Because they make these discernments that you have to do the physical test. No, it's voluntary test. Even the breathalyzer is voluntary. You have to approve it, officer. You go ahead and investigate. But I don't have to consent to your investigation. That would be a violation of my Fifth Amendment. That would be testimony against myself. You prove it according to your rules without forcing my consent in violation of the Fifth Amendment, as well as the Sixth Amendment in my right to be assisted by counsel. And you'll be amazed to know that it never says legal counsel. It says counsel. So I'll get my own medical counsel, you dumbass.
DUI? You said he had anything to drink or anything like that?
He does not drink. Zero for years and years and years.
She's saying...
Yeah, he does not drink. Again, the context, he asked how much alcohol he had. And she said he does not drink. So everybody's still confusing the thing about the content of alcohol in consideration with drinking when he doesn't know that. And that's not the way the statement was originally made. And then it was once alcohol was mentioned, the lady even converted. No, no, he doesn't drink. Hasn't for years and years. Yes, he does drink. He just doesn't drink alcohol.
You never drank. You don't drink. You said you did drink. I did not.
See? That little white lie. That officer said that this man said he does drink. And again, inferring that he drinks alcohol.
Said, how much have I had to drink today? I says, not much.
So what did you drink today?
A couple Dr. Peppers. I had a water.
No alcohol.
No alcohol.
Not one bit.
Not one. Give me the damn breathalyzer.
Why don't we?
That's why he was willing to do the breathalyzer, because he knew the breathalyzer was going to read the alcohol content. He knew he was going to blow zeros. Okay? And again, it's voluntary. And again, it's one or the other. You can do the field sobriety or the breathalyzer. Or you can even take it to your own medical counsel and get a blood content. Medical.
So Keith, you said it's voluntary, but they will definitely punish you for it if you don't voluntarily do it.
Or assume your guilt.
Oh, yeah, whatever. I mean, keep that in mind.
And somebody's got to speak up next time. We went through this whole video almost, and nobody told me it wasn't up. I know you could hear it, but it's funny by watching it too.
Yeah, you're waffling between showing the group that's here and the actual video that you want to see, and I'm not sure you're getting it right every time. That's all we're looking at.
Yeah, I'm not perfect, and I'm never going to be a professional. I'll keep doing my best, and hopefully I'll get better.
I can't believe you're doing this good, brother. I'm not trying to just. I'm just. Yeah, don't misunderstand me. I'm just pointing out what I see.
Well, you guys are part of it, so I appreciate you for helping make it a success. So let's get back to it and finish up here, because this is the audacity these people have of asserting that they know the law, but when they would just use their reason and logic. In reality, instead of their feigned narcissistic views, like I said, Dunning-Kruger, thinking they know things that they don't, while saying that they're investigating, proving that they don't know certain things. This is the idiocy.
Field sobriety exercises, you don't have to go all the way up to the jail.
I ain't going to do that shit. I'm 78 years old.
78 years old, diabetic.
I'm diabetic. I got PTSD. I just had a new hip put.
New hip, all of this. 78. My God bless this man. The simplicity of this man and his simple explanation and just standing in bare truth. How could you see? This is why it's so insane. I'm wondering if this guy isn't a vet too. You know, somebody that actually fought for the rights that he's standing up for without even knowing it, just by using simple explanation.
I would say yes.
Yeah, and he hasn't even. Yeah, well, yeah, it says Vietnam veteran. Damn it, it says right here, Vietnam veteran arrested by tyrant cop for drinking a soda. So he's a damn Vietnam veteran that supposedly fought for rights and stuff. So he's at least got that context in his heart. And here he is again, never mentioned any of it. This is just straight, pure truth and reality.
By the way, on that register of action I was looking at for a court case, just to let you know, there's a arrest record on it. Excuse me, it's for the charges, right? And on the charges under the offense, even though both of these offenses, one was resisting, the other one was obstructing a peace officer, they have a BAC automatically on that charge.
And what's a BAC?
There's zeros because blood alcohol content.
Oh, okay, yeah.
0.000 for this one because it wasn't even having to do anything with alcohol. But I just found it interesting that it's automatically on that charge no matter what.
Yeah. But do they have it checked? A lot of times you'll see those citations and stuff, and they'll have boxes that they're supposed to check and they don't. So
these aren't checked. Typically, if it's not filled out or there's no number or numerical value by it, then it's considered quote unquote blank on the registers for here. But this one has a 0.000, so it's been filled in.
So so they basically arrested him knowing full well that he did not test any positive for alcohol, and that's the insanity that these people are operating under. That's just
absolutely.
Yeah, and also have you taken? I am over talking you.
See? Don't over talk me. And the guy has every right to say the truth. And it tells him not to over talk him. I am over talking you. The audacity of these motherfuckers. Excuse my language. But we have to stop this, guys. These are not the
That
kind of
part,
people
they
we
always
need for
tell you
police.
don't interrupt me, but then they interrupt you all the time. It cracks me up.
Well, yeah, and watch this next one, folks. This is another one of those situations as I relegated to the Fifth and Sixth Amendment, and this expresses it perfectly. How much they're willing to do to violate you, despite those right in front of you. Again, claiming that they have more authority than others because they're the police.
Talking to you. Who are you?
I'm his attorney, sir.
Okay, well, he can talk to you after the traffic stop, man.
Well, he can talk to you after the traffic stop, ma'am. No. Again, under the Fifth and Sixth Amendment, you have the right to not speak, and you have the right to assistance of counsel to speak for you at the time of being questioned. It doesn't say you get to question me first and I can contact my attorney later. No, sir, I don't answer questions. You'll have to speak to my counsel. Understood? Comprende, employee? I am your boss. You will, in fact, speak to my counsel, and it may or may not be an attorney.
Right to have his attorney present during any questioning by police.
Hey, for just a minute here, you said you've had nothing to drink this evening.
Hello, officer.
Have you had anything?
Hello.
I'm not talking to you. Who are you?
I'm his attorney, sir.
Okay, well, he can talk to you after the traffic
He
stop,
has the
man.
right to have his attorney present during any questioning by police.
That's fine, but I'm not going to talk to you right now. All right.
That's fine, but I'm not going to talk to you right now. He doesn't comprehend the Sixth Amendment. You cannot question this man. He's already asserted it.
So what I'm going to need you to do is perform.
He is, in fact, supposed to speak to the counsel. That's what the Fifth and Sixth Amendment are.
A couple steps or a couple tests for me, okay?
Field sobriety tests are voluntary, sir.
Ma'am, I'm not talking to you.
My client.
Field sobriety tests are voluntary, sir. I'm not talking to you. I don't care. You have to talk to me. I'm his counsel.
I'm not talking to you. Who are you?
I'm his attorney, sir.
Okay, well, he can talk to you after the traffic
He
stop,
has the
man.
right to have his attorney present during any questioning by police.
So what do you think, guys? Are you guys familiar with this? Do you practice this?
Practice what exactly? I don't have my attorney with me everywhere I go, if that's what you're saying. I don't even have an attorney.
Oh, a counsel, seeking assistance of counsel. So I remember in several situations where I was on live calls, Zoom calls, and even YouTube panelverse calls or shows, whatever you want to call them, where people have been pulled over. And on various different platforms, we've seen successes where, despite them getting pulled over, the police have to leave them alone. It is a matter of seeking the assistance of counsel, and counsel is a matter of not representation, but of actual knowledge, generally first-hand knowledge of those who have first-hand experiences. So this one here, again, sadly enough, is about the policing community and why it's going insane and gaslighting traditional family living. As I mentioned earlier, set thine house in order. This goes the same through most venues. And I urge you, we should not have people of a certain age, just like it says in the Constitution, if you want to be a member of Congress or the Senate or the House or whatever, fill some kind of political office, you have to have certain things that are measured and achieved, one of which is an age. And I don't think some of these boys and girls should be police officers.
Wasn't it Chaucer, right? That one of the lines in the old poems, English poems, was "You've been weighed, you've been found, you've been weighed, you've been measured, and you've been found wanting." Right?
Yep, I think so. And that's what we're talking about. These people haven't been weighed and measured. But once you do, they're found wanting.
ID. Not true. I'm here. I promise you, I have to have broken the law, and you have to articulate.
Mind if I get your ID?
I have to have broken the law for you to get my ID. Not true. I'm here. I promise you.
Not true. I'm here for a legal reason. Bullshit it is. It is absolutely true.
I have to have broken the law, and you have to articulate what that law that I've broken is for me to give you my ID.
We are here for a legal reason, meaning I am able to identify.
Not anyone you want. You're a rookie. I heard you say, what is RAS?
And if I am able to identify, I'm sorry, I don't have any identification on me. So if you do identify through my my profession, then you must
That
take it for what
system,
it is.
they're running, there's the system that they're running you through is the NCIC.
Right.
One thing we found is that that driver's license is actually recorded or ledgered in there already as a criminal or a enemy of the state.
Well, it's some kind of foreign agent, I believe, under the Interstate Identification Index. That's where it's lodged with the FBI and the fingerprint files.
Well, and that also goes back to AAMBA, right? We talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, American.
What is RAS? Reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime. What crime do you suspect me of committing, sir? No one's trespassed me.
You were asked to leave multiple times and did not.
Let me finish real quick. You can't say I'm.
Go ahead and place your hands behind your back. If you want to continue arguing.
So you put me in cuffs, put me in the back of your car, and took my ID out of my wallet. You illegally searched me. That's my First Amendment and my Fourth Amendment that you violated. But I didn't commit any crime because I cannot be trespassed from a public building. All right. Sure. All right. I got violated today. There'll probably be a lawsuit coming, but it's okay.
I absolutely hope there is, because anytime you see that they are willing to arrest you, detain you, put you in cuffs in the back of a squad car for a supposed crime of trespass, because you were asked to leave, they forget the whole process of trespass first and foremost. But afterward, they turn around and release you. That's evidence that something was wrong in that process itself. They themselves admit they were wrong. So that's a definite lawsuit. I would most definitely follow up on that. What do you guys? Yep.
Because that license or the identification that they want so bad is hooked to that Social Security account, which technically is private, and isn't that also classified as a trade secret because it is for your business only and business dealings, and that would be theft of that trade secret, don't you think?
Correct. Those accounting numbers are for various different entities, both legal and commercial, as well as military for men. Military for men through the system of selective service system.
Selective service. Yeah.
And that is a specific set of guys, men that I'm speaking to. You know, it's people that willingly, because of inducement, of course, I agree to that as well. I comprehend that as well. I myself signed up for the selective service. But inherently, that is, again, one of those base foundation errors of handing our children over to a public education system, is that we then go on a mission of war for mankind rather than being that stranger and sojourner with our Father. Does our Father join us in those wars? I ask people. Does our Father join us in those wars that we send our young men and women today off to fight for some supposed rights against a foreign nation that we really don't have much to do with as far as culture clashes or religious clashes or things like that? And if we just let each other to their own business, things would probably be a lot better. But yet we still believe in sending our younger generations off to these false wars, paying tribute to the false patriarchs. It's sad.
Well, isn't it anybody after born after 57 and on, I believe, except for like 2 years, 2 separate years, I believe it's 59 and 60 for some reason, they're automatically signed up for a selective service. Any men, excuse me.
Yeah, and it's all an inducement.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we were born in an infant ward. Think about that.
Right. Inventory.
So let's take a look at the next one. Well, let me know your thoughts on this one. Again, some insanity as to expectation.
I would love to be a stay-at-home mom. I would love to be a homemaker and a wife. I would love to be able to live on a homestead and go milk my cow and take the eggs out of the chicken coop and have one baby in the belly and on my hip and another toddler coming behind me. That's like my dream, but I can't fucking do that because the way the economy is set up is I'm forced to work.
And I've spoken to this context in regards to the legal matters as it relates to 18 U.S.C. 1589. And it's actually codified as forced labor. And I'll drop that link in the chat for everybody. I urge everybody to take a look at that, because this is the insanity of what I'm talking about with this society that is gaslighting family living styles.
Not to mention, and by the way, those allocations I found in the IRS to cover, you know, our basic necessities. I actually was able to trace it down to the state level, on the state where I'm on right now. Yeah. So the county and the state are splitting it, by the way, into a per diem. So they took the monthly stipend and they split it into a per diem, because you can actually get compensated for doing things like, you know, educating your sons and daughters at home, doing a home industry, all that kind of stuff.
It's a relief of official government duties by taking upon those duties yourself. It's taking back your responsibility, alleviates their expense, and you get paid for it because it's an equal consideration agreement. There's always an agreement on the table. Which one do you want? The one that's going to be detrimental, or the one that's going to be equal consideration in equity?
Forced to get an education, a higher education, a college
Again, the true benefit is knowledge. So make sure they get the best of it by ensuring it yourself.
degree in order to make enough money that I can be financially independent and afford my own home or my own rent or my own gas or my own groceries, my own insurance. And it's extremely difficult to do that. And it's very isolating as a woman when you have to do all of that all on your own, and you can't find somebody that you can outsource some of those chores and financial responsibilities like you would with a spouse. So,
and the same goes for the men. And this, ladies, is why it's so important to understand. If you're looking for a man to do that kind of stuff and provide for you, you damn well better understand how much he's got to go through first for himself before he can do it for anybody else. So when you have those expectations of being able to lie to one guy and say that he's too flashy and he's got a mere t-shirt, pair of jeans with some sparkles on it, and a nice pair of tennis shoes, whereas the other guy that's all slicked out in a nice outfit with bling, 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 and you want to pose your pitiful little lies. Understand how much work it really takes for a man to be successful, even a little bit. And if he's got a good, solid partner working with him, he's that much more successful at any level. So it's not a matter of how much a man can put out for you, but how much you can help a man put out together.
no, being a single working woman absolutely sucks. It's the worst thing ever.
And absolutely, being a single male and needing a partner that he can serve and protect so he can have his rightful heirs as the cedar of that manufacturer. That's the inherent principle of all man, above and beyond all women. Set thine house in order. Women, you cannot live without men. Quit playing that bullshit.
I hate it. I would go back to the 1950s in a second just so I wouldn't have to deal with this shit. I would.
Absolutely. Don't you think, women, if you let the man take care of it that way, and he can provide for you for a good traditional family where you don't have to put up with the insanity like she said? Let's listen to it again one more time, and then I'll open it up. I hate it.
Hate it. I would go back to the 1950s in a second just so I wouldn't have to deal with this shit. I would love to
deal with this shit. And it is insanity, I think we all agree.
Isn't this how the government, especially local government and the state, become that spouse?
Yeah, that false patriarch.
Well, it's not even just a patriarch; it's spouse. Literally, it's a marriage and a partnership
Well,
they create.
yeah,
Right?
local parentis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're taking that place because they're usurp that first partnership because that's what it is.
And so let's see here. And again, as to the education, listen to this one. This is from a brilliant young man. This is what we need in our younger generation.
This kid just woke up and decided to completely destroy the school board and educate his own teachers. Check it out.
Despite the board's attempt to deny it, schools are quickly becoming a place where promoting activism is actually more important than promoting education. There are political signs all over RHS about specific races that matter, specific sexual orientations that matter. But when I questioned the RHS administration about how these signs were political, they told me that they were supporting human rights. So when I questioned why the equity statement couldn't represent all students, they told me that to even ask that question was outlandish and offensive. They told me, quote, whites have a pretty good situation right now, unquote. So is that not racism? Disregarding my question merely because of the color of my skin. To be honest, after enduring a year of the people in charge telling me that I'm a racist and I'm privileged, I've never noticed race more. Now, members of the board, I want you to take a good look at yourselves in the mirror tonight and ask, are you really standing up for the equality of all people? Or are you just pushing a damaging political ideology on our students?
This kid just
Damaging, damn it, you did it again. A damaging political ideology on the students. And that's one of the things I speak about all the time. They're not getting an education. They're taught to remember things like the civil rights, the feminist rights, the transgender rights, the transhuman rights, the trans-species rights. And that's what they've got them watching in schools, is these gay guys dressing up in drag and reading these perverse stories and allowing these perverse books in the libraries and recommended reading, yet they don't allow them at city council meetings or county commission meetings or public education parent-teacher meetings. No, we can't have them there, but we have to have our children as recommended reading. This is the insanity that this diversity, equity, inclusion puts upon us, and this guy's very bright to see it and how it works against the supposed guy that has everything. That's why it's so important that we don't let this stuff divide us. It's tearing everybody down, not just whites, but anybody that would be victimized or attacked in some way by the diversity, equity, inclusion sectors, no matter what it is. We have preachers out on the street that are preaching at Christmas parades, and we have these transgender activists out there claiming he's disrupting the Christmas parade by saying that they're sinners. It's all insanity. I hope our younger generation sees things more like this young man. I think he made an awesome observation. And then another one I got, elements of design. Yes, elements of design. Absolutely agree, Kit Carson. Welcome. You guys got anything on that? This is the importance of a proper education. I think this kid got educated outside of the school, the public education. What do you think? Anybody? Melvin, you there with us?
Sorry, I got distracted. What was the question?
What do you think about this? What do you guys think about this kid and what he expressed here in the concept that I put out, that maybe he got some education outside of the public education system, or he has this innate ability to be able to think for himself and have that autodidactic effect, self-learning effect.
Well, that'd be great. I didn't have that, so I mean, it seems cool.
I think we need
Well, if
more
you have someone that's bored enough in school, right, they're going to go and search out knowledge wherever they don't find it.
Yeah,
especially somebody that's like learning that.
And I think that's one of the things that we need to inherently instill in our younger generations is that curiosity to seek beyond. That's what I had too. I too, just like you just said, was kind of bored in school. I kind of found it easy, and so I went above and beyond. And so when I got to be adopted, that above and beyond was expanded even farther by people that were interested in helping me do that. So not only was I just doing it by myself, but I had an outer source that was helping me develop the things that I inherently wanted to learn anyway. So it was awesome. And I think that's imperative that we learn how to understand the teachings and how to let it be effective from multiple perspectives. Whether it be, I'm not saying pull your children out of the public education system, but if it totally disagrees with your views and lifestyles, most certainly. If it's going to destroy your family lifestyle, pull your children out. Still give them public education. You can follow the state's public education curriculum and homeschool, but at the same time, I urge that in that homeschooling, you would go above and beyond still.
Oh, yeah, but even if it doesn't do it yet, it will eventually. So you should probably get your kids out of there.
Right. I am in agreement with that. And that's why I mentioned the public education system is the foundation of the insanity. It's the one that's helping and it's still in our younger generations. And like this man, this young man, he saw it. Whether he got outside help in seeing it or not, he expressed it very well.
Some people don't have that option just because of circumstances and everything, but there are other things that you can supplement with, or if you do the homeschooling, I would look into the libraries, your local library. There's something called
air the full version.
Correspondence. Sorry, education by correspondence. You can actually get certificates and tests out of things like college and PhDs and everything. You end up getting paid more too.
Yep. And that's the importance of education. It's the most valued thing out there. Think about it. Somebody wants to know if you've got experience, but the experience they're looking for is your educational experience where you got a certificate on a wall. That only tells me that you were indoctrinated to believe the same thing as your teacher that taught you. That tells me you've got one source.
It's different than a certificate. Certificates are normally something where you have earned that, or you can demonstrate that you have knowledge or firsthand or enough knowledge to actually be certified. Having a diploma or a PhD or something like that is basically just having that
accreditation.
Yeah, which is not credit, right?
Exactly. See, people confuse it. Accreditation is to the value of your knowledge. Credit is to the value of your assets. One's intangible, one's material, tangible. Your assets that you acquired from your thoughts that were put into action. The things that you manifest in the material world. They're two different things. One's the accreditation and one's the credit. It is only the credit that shows, but the accreditation is where it comes from. It's the credence.
The applicable knowledge versus knowledge that's only been,
Correct.
obtained and not applied.
Right. Observed or imagined. It's the actionable events that put it into observance to begin with. Now, this is the aspect, again, we're going back to Trump here. I wish I'd have put this one earlier. But when he's talking about make America great again and giving power back to the people and this and that, and I've been explaining it's about the money. Here's a guy that went through bankruptcy 7 times and now he's got stability, and not only stability, but second time in political office here as a businessman.
Of this interview with President Trump.
Are you planning to accept a salary as president?
I'm not going to accept a salary, no. And I'm giving up a lot of money, Do you know, it amazed me that, and maybe this isn't right, but other than George Washington, and they're not sure about that, every president has accepted their salary except me.
And you did accept the pension, correct?
I don't think so.
You didn't accept your
I don't think I accepted anything. The president gets about $450,000 a year, and I didn't take it.
I want to ask you again about.
But by the way, I got no credit for that. That's okay.
Of course not. You didn't get no credit for it because there was nothing given. See, you don't get credit unless a debt was extended. And you don't get to extend credit unless you resolved a debt.
Well, I am asking you about it for that reason. Yeah. And I think it's notable you're not going to accept a salary.
Yeah, I don't accept. I'm not. I didn't, and I'm not going to.
Yeah, he didn't his first term either.
And I don't believe I got any credit for that. But I just feel it's, for me, it's a nice thing to do.
It's the charity. His cup welleth over already. Why should he take other emoluments when that $450,000 a year, which equates to would be about $4 million now when he's done with this office, that went back to the people. See, this is setting thine house in order.
Did it go back to the people or did it go to a charity? Because I know he just set up a school.
Well, yeah, in a sense, it's not going into his pocket. It didn't fill a cup that's already full, is what I'm saying. So no matter where it went elsewise, it went to someone else that could use it, whether feasibly or logistically reasonable or needed, didn't really matter. But the sense is that he didn't take it as a sense of charity. It's a good thing to do. And again, I'm not political, and I never vote, never have. I don't side with Trump or Biden or anything. I side with reason, logic, and reality.
Well, and when it comes to taxes and finances, you have to dig a little bit deeper to find out the whole charity thing and how that works with taxes, because it's very much beneficial for him.
Yeah, and like I said, when we talk about taxes, we've got to remember the origin is from tiv, which is the gift. And if you already give a gift, then it's not taxable. And in this sense, he just didn't take a gift from the people, because that's what it would have been, as a gift. He doesn't need it. He's got his own sources. So it would have just merely been a gift, and he gave it back. That sounds like equal exchange. I think that sounds like equity. I think that's a fairness. And I think that's a more traditional family value. I don't think Trump is part of that gaslighting society. I think he's one of the ones that's actually trying to bring things back to a traditional family value. And I can only hope and have faith in it. But
Go read the 2017 Job Works and Tax Act first. Then come back to me.
Well, we'll take a very close look at those terms, because I guarantee you none of them is going to include a living soul. And that's a big distinction people need to learn. If you're going to fall victim to their grammar and the terms of art that they use, which are not words, that's on you. You have to come to the reality of knowing yourself that none of that stuff applies to you unless you desire it so. And if you do, you better be making sure you have equal consideration, because if not, you're giving consent to detriment to yourself, wantonly. Here we got Owen Schroyer. I don't know if you guys know this guy, but let's listen to him real quick.
We live in a constitutional republic. We don't live in a democracy.
What is the contradiction there? What do you think? Hold on. What is a republic and what is a democracy?
Democracy is where a bunch of lunatics like you can vote away my right.
A DemoCrazy. A bunch of lunatics. I agree.
A democracy is where 3 wolves and a sheep vote what's for dinner.
Is that Article 5 or Article 6? I don't know what part of the Constitution.
So you asked what a democracy
So a
was.
democracy is when multiple people vote. A republic is when you have representatives that do things for you. We are a representative democracy. That's why we're a constitutional republic. We are both a republic, which just means you're not a monarchy, and a democracy. This idea that we must be a republic because I'm a Republican and we're not a democracy because you're a Democrat is fucking retarded. Come on.
So again,
no, that's his projection. That is not the way Owen Schroyer is expressing this. Pay attention.
And we live in a constitutional republic where we have unalienable rights given to us by God, the Creator. Democrats don't want you to know that because they want to be able to vote away your rights, like they want to be able to vote away your Second Amendment rights, vote away your First Amendment rights, and they'll go right down the line, okay?
And use the First Amendment right of freedom of expression to allow your insanity to reign free with no detriment, unless it be against somebody else that would be discriminating against you in your insanity by mentioning your insanity.
Is that why they're called left? Just ask you know. I know 3 lefts make a right, but 3 rights don't make a left.
Exactly.
And they like gambling. Yeah, it's the dog racing and horse racing, NASCAR. Let another left turn. It's interesting.
So what do you guys think about the democracy, the DemoCrazy? Am I right? Is society gaslighting traditional family living? Is it using diversity, equity, and inclusion to include on the insane people as authoritative sources to run your life?
Socrates even said that democracy leads to tyranny.
Oh, absolutely. Particularly a bureaucratic democracy. If you go to my video I made yesterday for Word Wizard, we talked about library bureaucracy. Bureaucracy talks about tyrannical administration of government.
Oh, and a lot of this starts in the libraries.
Absolutely. Every book, every page, every leaf, every blank sheet of paper.
Book value, right?
Book value. Book them, Dano.
Book value. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That part.
Now, here's the insane thing, and this goes to the same concept as homeowners associations and things, where people think they have the authority to do insane things like this. It's just pathetic. Pay attention. This is one of my favorites. Come on.
This Karen gets upset because mailman won't commit
Excuse
felony
me?
for her.
Yes, ma'am. You didn't see me flagging you down?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Okay, I was flagging you down. And by the way, I want you to hear this. Okay, I need to see Greg's mail. Greg Harrison.
Who are you?
I'm his fiance.
Okay. Do you have a request?
Yeah, I need his mail.
That's not his mail. I just pulled this from the blue box. That's not how this
Okay,
works.
so why didn't you stop when I was trying to flag you down?
Like I said, ma'am, I didn't see you.
Okay, so
Well, not only did he not see you, but this is a postal service worker on a postal road that drives around. He does, in fact, drive, but he doesn't require a license to do so, nor does he use a license plate, because he is the authority as a postal service worker on a postal road, ma'am. Just a bit of information there, guys.
can I have his mail? It's important.
That's not how that works, ma'am. I can't just give you the mail.
Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8.
Well, I need it.
Okay, so you can go to his house and get it.
See, this is a problem I'm having with him. What is your name?
My name is Troy Aikman, ma'am.
Okay, and I need to see your identification. So I need to report this in.
Not required to give you any identification.
You see what's going on here? This is what I'm talking about.
Now, like we saw in that video earlier where the guy was demanding identification because he's a public servant, and there's a certain tact to that, or a certain aspect, and that is because the officers in a consensual conversation with somebody that he supposedly has authority to enforce policy over. And again, that's just a presumption, but they push that heavily. Here, there's no element of RAS or a crime or anything, and he himself, again, on a postal road as a postal service worker, is not subject by license. Okay, you have to understand.
Give over any information.
Well, you have to understand the international treaty and the Article 1, Section 8 Constitution clause that institutes that postal road for that authority. These people don't do that. They think the courts are going to do. Those are administrative courts. This is a judicial officer.
Okay, I asked you nicely, can I see his, because I'm his fiance.
This Karen gets upset because
Ask you to see his mail because I'm his fiance. No, he's not going to do that. He can't do that. That's the epitome of the one that
Why would you think just he's a fiance that gives her a right to these? That doesn't mean any consent. Sorry.
well, it would be the epitome of identity theft and conspiracy by a dumbass that would allow such a thing. He's not stupid. Come on, lady. Go to a bank and ask the bank for your husband's account number. We don't have a joint account, but I'm his fiance. You can give it to me. They're not going to do that. Same with the police. These people are insane in their demands because they think they have some kind of authority because you're a fucking fiance. Come the fuck on. Set thine house in order, people. What's my next one? Feminists. Feminists. You know, when you fought for your equal rights, as soon as it comes up here.
Okay, someone.
So when you fought for your equal rights and you entered into the workforce and you started taking on certain jobs, but you never advanced in too many other areas, particular construction, oil rig, fishing, things like that. What is it? What is the offset here of your expectations of equal rights if you won't fill the equal capacities? Do you need men? Are you equal to men? What's the deal?
You girls are out here
That and
saying
just pointing out again, female and woman are different. Female is chattel, right?
Well, we're talking to the concept of reality, whether you want to describe yourself as a woman or female in the feminist rights movement. If you're on that feminist rights side, professing that you can fulfill the same duties as a male, then I suggest you prove it. To this date, it has not been done. And in fact, your transgender movement that you feminists helped move along with your feminist movement as it came about now proves to work against you because now you have man of the year, or excuse me, woman of the year that is in fact a man that wants to claim he's now a woman, which is insanity. Welcome to your insane feminist wants, women. Set thine house in order. I'm not a misogynist, but I would rather have you accept your role and allow me to protect and provide for you instead of having to think that you need to go out and protect and provide and use a false patriotic system as your advantage. It's a game of numbers. You want a bunch of fucking men as a false patriotic system, or you want a true living soul, one being that can provide it all, because that's a spiritual connection. You want the mammon connection of a material world with all your flashy things, or you want a good traditional life that is a good life, not filled with all the insanity.
this, we would do just fine without them. But how many of you are willing to use equal pay to sign up for this job?
Yo, all hands, hoist the colors high, heave ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die.
I could never, not in a million years, not if you paid me $1 million, because that would be the last job I ever take, and I would die on the first day. Shout out to the men who do these hard jobs, who take these risks so society can function. Reject delusions, embrace gender differences.
I love it. I love it. Embrace.
It goes both ways too, because there's a lot of things guys won't do.
Well, yeah, I don't want to sit down there. I don't want to sit down there sewing in a sewing factory and stuff. I'd rather be out in nature. Women tend to do better in jobs that are sheltered from the environment. Men tend to do better and more capable of doing the jobs that are not so protected and out in the environment, both as a matter of enjoyment and the physical contact we get to make helps us be stronger, strengthy men so we can protect. And generally, it's those outside industries that pay better. Again, if you really want to profess your feminist rights, and like we saw in the video earlier where the woman was talking about, she, in her single womanhood, had to do all of this just to provide for herself. And then in order to include somebody else in that life with her and have children upon that was going to take so much more. Again, that's that 50-50 type relationship that most people are willing to put up for, when actually it should be you're already supposed to be 100% capable of taking care of yourself, so that when you come into union with that other opposite gender to make and procreate that future generation, you now are working at 200% capacity. People miss that, and it's sad. We are in our roles, we work better together and more effectively for that younger generation. Separately divided, we work nothing for anybody. It's to our detriment and the younger generations.
It's finding that balance between, what each one's strengths and weaknesses are, and, offsetting them, right? Offset. But,
Yep.
and I mean, I know this because I owned a construction company. It's not easy to do that, especially, yeah, right? And
Yep.
not many women do that. But a lot of women run the books for the construction company, which gets interesting, right?
Yep. And this is another one along the same lines. Again, I'm not being misogynistic, and I doubt this woman means to be sounding the way she is. And so it's a matter of seeing things again for what they really are. And that means you have to be open-minded and quit being self-centered. Self-centered in your materialistic world's wants and desires, and be able to accept a world that men are willing and able to provide for you. And I'm telling you, true men would rather be able to provide you a good life and a good family out there rather than cucking to some patriotic corporate daddy.
Wasn't it like that one woman said earlier? She would trade going back to the 50s in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and see, oops, there I am, not showing it again. What happened? Oh, I lost the presentation. Let me find it again. Were you guys able to see that?
Yeah, we can.
Were you able to hear it? I'm going to start it over.
No, that's why I spoke up, because there wasn't anything.
Oh, okay.
Women can do it on their own. We don't have to shut the fuck up, bro. If that's what you like, then get what you like, and good luck. I hope you find it. I like something else, and I hope I find it too. Good luck to both.
Name me one billionaire outside of Oprah that did it on her own.
I don't know. I don't keep up.
There isn't one. Hey, I'll tell you about the richest women in the world. Guess where they got their riches from? Divorce. That means they didn't do it on their own. Success is a team sport, no matter how you think about it. A man needs a woman. Hold on. A man needs a woman just as much as a woman needs a man. I can look at you and say, your strengths are my weaknesses and vice versa. We can see the value in women. And as soon as women start getting some money, it's like they forget who got them, put them in position to make. The last time I checked, most of these businesses that these women are making all this money for were ran and owned by men. OnlyFans, lip gloss, hair weave, Mercedes-Benz. You know who created that? I mean, how are y'all getting so goddamn hot, strong on your high horses about saying you don't need a nigga when everything of your existence was created by man?
You can't deny it, women. Men have and
but there
always
is something
will.
else there.
Excuse me?
Because there's something else here though too. Because with those companies, especially any kind of international trade, about 85% of professional negotiators are women. It's one of those things where it's exactly what he said. Strengths and weaknesses.
Right. Women are better at
There's certain things we want to look at.
Women are better at negotiating. Men are better at manufacturing. This is very simple. And in that context, there are roles that are better played by the different people. Greetings, Iman and Shanubis, or excuse me, Anubis.
Greetings, brother.
So have you been listening? I see you down in the chat there. Have you been listening to this one here, Iman? What's your position on women thinking that they don't need men?
Well, as far as the women who think they don't need men, I feel that, again, they are in a delusional state because it takes two. And that's why the creator created a mate for Adam. And so that's why there is supposed to be men and women coming together as one, where again it says in the Bible the man is supposed to leave his mother and father and cleave to a wife. So I hope that's all scriptural and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so it comes down to comprehending. Again, I know I sound misogynistic quite often, but I assure you it's just only the intent of putting a house in order, because I inherently believe and strongly, intuitively, instinctively follow that concept of providing and protecting as a matter of my natural place in life. So again,
That actually also goes back to Native American culture, though, too, because it was the clans mothers that would make the decisions, for the clan, but it was the chiefs that enforced them and acted as the, front man, if you will.
Exactly. It was the matriarch that put it into communication, and it was the patriarch that enforced it, working together, knowing that a good communicator, making good common sense, it would sound reasonable to them, and therefore they could support it. That's the part of man. They're supposed to be the reason and logic. This is the taking the eating from the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Now, if the
Well, in the
man
fruit, right? It comes down to the fiduciary.
if
correct?
the man knows his role, he does not allow the woman to introduce anything into the house. He is the provider. So why did he let Eve bring him an apple? He should have questioned it.
And this is one of the things that the courts do, because there isn't just the estate, because the estate is the man's. There's also the endowment, that dowry that came with a woman. There's two parts, right? And it's what the courts are usurping is that endowment. That's why they're running around in dresses.
Right. It's the matrimony.
Would you guys say that you lean more liberal or more conservative?
Oops. It's the matrimony that is consummated in wedlock, not marriage.
It's wedlock. Yeah. What's interesting, this title insurance book I have from the Bar Association for continuing education for the bar, it actually refers to the title, the insurance for the title, right, as a commitment.
Yeah, and that wedlock, that comes from a wet lock, which is a water bond. Amazingly enough, the insurance.
Yeah, which is how the courts have all their jurisdiction on the local level, especially it's through waste and water treatment plants.
It's inland.
Yeah, right.
It's known as inland marine insurance or marine insurance. It's the water bond. Wedlock.
Yeah.
So let's listen to some lefty logic. It says
they're going left.
Would you guys say that you lean more liberal or more conservative?
Definitely more liberal. Yeah.
Okay, why liberal?
Because I'm black. Yeah.
We're gay. What do you guys think is the biggest issue that's facing Gen Z right now?
Many of us leave.
Okay, they got two things there already, 2 boxes covered. So they've got the 14th Amendment, 13th, 14th Amendment as far as freedom of slavery for the blacks. So they got they're black, the color thing, and they're gay. Okay, so they've got civil rights and gay rights. Okay.
Well, and then liberal, wouldn't that be going to liberty, which is actually a military term for permission?
Right, grant of leave of ship.
I didn't know there was a Z generation though. Z card, which is a merchant mariner. Yeah, that thing.
A bunch of money for with a degree, and we can't get a job. And then you have people
Oh, so now they're financially destitute because they spent all this money for college to get a job, to have a good salary, and they can't get that job with a good salary. So now they're suffering in a low wage job and can't pay their student loans either. Oh my.
Well, like Mr. Charlie here telling you, yeah, you know, if you work harder, it's Gen Z is so lazy.
Instead of taking them scholarships and thinking you was going to get a free ride by checking off all them boxes, maybe you got your ass up into reality and quit using lame ass excuses of victimhood, of discrimination because of some personal character or personal trait that you want to carry in your insanity. Again, transgender, you're born a woman or a man, one or the other, male or female. Go ask your dog if he's a male or a female. I guarantee you don't even have to. All you got to do is look at him. You see a penis, it's a male. You see a vagina, it's a female.
So lazy and they care about things that don't matter, whatever. But it's the truth. We leave schools with spending all this money for a degree and we can't even use them, and we're stuck in like low income jobs.
Is college a scam?
No.
Which
Absolutely not. I agree, it's not.
Oh, except for vocational schools, right? Which is that
No.
applicable knowledge
No,
that
college.
pays much higher.
College.
Well, I'm saying, but yeah.
Well, let's
Sorry,
check on this real quick. The college as applicable is not a scam. The problem is you scam yourself by accepting these little white lies and even these big damn lies, these insane lies that you could be a woman if you were born a man or a man if you were born a woman. Again, I remind everybody, the woman of the year was a man. Funny stuff. Men or women are beating out the women in their own competitions. Funny stuff. And women are joining men's competitions believing that they're now men and getting their asses whooped. You are not equal. There is a difference. We have equalities, but we have those equalities only if we take the responsibility in their respective roles. They work together, not independently. You do not have to be an independent woman all your life. You do not have to be single men all your lives. Learn how to work together and know your roles.
do you guys say that you lean more liberal or more conservative?
Why would you lean either way? Why wouldn't you be centrally balanced? Anything else, guys?
Well, it's the middle is where you have the power, right? It's the middle.
Well, think about it. If you have this piece, this plank that's say even 4 foot wide, and you set it on a log so it teeters, and you get on that board that's teetering on that log, and you have a wide stance, it's much harder to balance than if you come in close and stand centrally with your feet together. You're able to stand more centrally on the path instead of trying to broadly walk the path with this wide view thinking you know things.
I always put it as it's like being on a seesaw, right? If you're going to be on one side or the other, either your ass is on the ground or your feet are off of it. But if you're standing on top in the middle of that seesaw, right, it's a lot easier to shift your weight and check somebody up, right?
Well, yeah, and we check ourselves off. We're the ones that put ourselves in those categories. And again, we have to understand the reason that we have these gay rights and these transgender rights and transhuman rights and trans species rights coming about now is because it's the adults that are perpetrating it. The adults that were brought up in a cushy society before that, and it's getting softer and softer. Those soft times make for soft women, soft men. Soft men make for hard times. Hard times are only survived by hard men. That's your bottleneck, folks. The harder the times become because of the insanity of the softness that pervade, as if though it's protecting you in some kind of soft, cushiony cupcake cloud. You're going to find out there's no bottom to that cloud, and you're going to hit the ground real soon, real fast at high velocity, and you ain't going to survive. You better wake up now.
Is that what that U was on that police incident report that I read? Where I had the father's gender was you. Still trying to figure out what that U stands for. I haven't been able to find any documentation on
Yeah,
it.
you'd have to ask them.
Yeah, they're not going to tell me. I already did.
So I got one last one. A guy teaches cops with big ego a lesson. And that's what it's about, guys, is the ego. And again, it's not just cops and it's not just cops and the auditors and this and that, or men or women. It's the combination in all the interactions we have, no matter what hat we're wearing at any particular time. We're none of us used to it. We have to start getting used to it. When we walk up to a public police officer, we have to now put on a different cap. We have to think in a different way than we do in our own house, where we're a daddy to a child and we can't speak to him like a child. We're not his spouse, so we can't speak to him like a spouse. We have to recognize our true capacity and nature, that we're the boss. And the only way we can assert that we're the boss is to have the knowledge and the ability to be able to correspond that interactively with them in a peaceful manner. You get stopped by a police officer on the side of the road, that's not the place you want to sit there and argue, but a good correspondence of knowledge, and not necessarily asserting that you're the boss, but giving boss knowledge. And this is what it's about. We have to understand that the knowledge is the true benefit. It's going to be able to overcome any ego, particularly your own, and that's why you need to take upon the knowledge.
Well, in knowledge, right? Over gold, silver, anything other commodity, knowledge has always been the true currency. Isn't that why the Roman Catholic Church made confession mandatory? So they would have the goods on everybody, right?
Exactly. So let's listen to it.
Armed to the teeth, huh?
Just so you're aware, you are actually trespassing because this is private property.
Are you a law enforcement officer?
I'm Sergeant Smith.
It's public property.
No, it's not public property.
How is it not public property? It's open to the public. If this is a restricted area, it's a very bad restricted area. I'm just taking some pictures and video.
You're on private property, sir.
It's private. Who owns it?
This is private property. You have any ID on you, sir?
Well,
See, their claim of private property, I'm going to show you a distinction here. This is a postal road, and no matter what stretch it's going, that postal road has easements. Okay, and you see that utility pole with that lamp? See, that proves there's an easement there, a utility easement. And that proves there's a conservation easement. Everything.
Right of way.
Right of way. Yep. Right of
Yeah,
passage.
because that's what they run. Yeah, that's what they run all the warrants and everything through the Department of Transportation's right of way manual.
Yeah, your right of way as a matter of right of passage and a right of portage. That's what your passport is. But that's for the commercial or legal entity. You don't need one. Again, a stranger and a sojourner with my Father which art in heaven.
Well, and the housing thing, the DOT, I found something called housing of last resort, which when you read into it, it describes a jail cell perfectly.
Wow. You'll have to send that to me. Yeah.
You're not a law enforcement officer, so I don't have to give you anything. I wouldn't have to give a law enforcement officer my ID. I'm not breaking any laws. I said I'll wait for them. No problem.
I said walk that way.
Okay. Well, you have no authority over me, so could you say please? Oh, thank you. All right, no problem. I'll wait for law enforcement. Okay. You know, as long as you're not hurting anyone, you're not making any victims, damaging property. It's Yeah, I'm just taking some pictures of the facility here from the publicly accessible areas.
No restrictions on that at all. So you can see it from the road. It's in the public domain.
Right. Well, it's nice meeting you guys.
It's in the public domain. Okay. That's the importance here.
Dominion's huge, isn't it?
Well, the problem with that dominion is, again, people think they have certain authorities that give them dominion, but that authority that they pose as giving that dominion is a false dominion. And I want to point again something out again. as I mentioned, that light pole being a easement for utility and the running of lines and everything. It's because they have to provide a conservation easement saying that utility and those systems running through there won't damage the land of its natural use. Otherwise, they have to condemn that particular space of its natural use so they can put those utility lines in there and everything. But in that, they have to give guarantee under that conservation easement that it won't damage the natural areas. And therefore, if it does, there's insurance. And again, this is related to those postal roads. Okay? That's the public domain. Everything in this public, and the expression of all these different characters and personalities, transgender, trans-species, transhuman, gay, civil, all of it. Why don't we all just recognize we all have certain faults and we want to work together to help each other get through them and correct them, rather than being so systematically victimized by our own insanity that we believe everybody else is our enemy.
Well, and this is why transportation, right? Transportation actually used to be a criminal sentence, right? You were transported.
Right.
We have a Department of Transportation, and we got trans everything now, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing of expanding beyond that family living, that family lifestyle. We've been transported into commerce and political subdivisions.
Franchises.
Society. Why is society so much more important than the family? I would think that the family is inherently the most important and priority topic and substantive thing as it relates to anything else. You have to have families that create that society. So it cannot be the society that is the most important. Yet I believe it's the society that is gaslighting the individual family to be able to self-govern and shed off that despotic, insane authority that is merely written down on some piece of paper.
Well, and what you just said, individual, because the individual is still recognized as a corporation or business, but it's the individual only who has standing in court.
Yeah, independently. And you got to think about that court. What court?
Well, and that's the thing. That's why I like manorial roles, because manorial roles for that manor or your house creates your own court or jurisdiction.
Right, the court of my manor. The court of my etiquette. Not the court of your delusional babble as you use multiple grammar styles in a legal and commercial context. Sorry, I don't understand that stuff. But in plain writing, this is what I have to say. And I'm not a man. That's one of my favorites. I can ask people all day, are you a man? And in regards to transgender, I'm talking about species. Are you a man? Are you a woman? It doesn't matter. If I see you as female, I can ask you, are you a woman? And the same context applies. And I'm going to reiterate, if you say yes, Genesis 2:7, God formed man of the dust of the ground, and when he breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, man became a living soul. And I'm going to say, to assure you, in the same context, like I said, woman, God would also profess, without saying it, that God formed woman of the dust of the ground, except for the verse that says he created woman from the rib of Adam. Set thine house in order. You don't get to create another living soul without another living soul. You in context are not a living soul without relatively thinking of the man that was created as a living soul first by accepting the breath of God. And this is inherently the authority of God, is every breath I take is an act of God, and I should make it look so. Why pay?
It's like documentation, right? You can breathe life into a document. It's one of the things about a holographic record. Make the indentation. Yeah.
Indoctrination. Okay. Nation.
Yeah.
What
That's what
is
you need. You need brainwashed, right? You need to wash the brain.
in is with, doc is teach. So with teaching of a tri-nation, a tribunal, but that nation is a false patriarch. That's indoctrination. Otherwise, you are a prophet. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. The essence of knowledge comes from that, not from some legislated word on a piece of paper in any book, in any library, in any bureau. And
Is that why prophets are tax exempt?
Is that why what?
Prophets are tax exempt.
I don't know. I would have to look into that. I never thought about that. But
well, royalties are the same.
It goes on to say, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee and I ordained thee. You can't sanction me with your mammon ordinances, because I was already sanctified and ordained with the index finger of his right hand, where he wrote his word of love, faith, truth, and hope on my heart. And that's what I'm supposed to profit unto the nations, no matter how many they are. 1, 2, 3, more, or 4, or 4 or more. I don't care how many. It's profit unto the nations. So what is profit unto the nations? It's to tell unto the nations, to give them supplemental information, knowledge that would be profitable to them. I think it's supposed to be an agreement.
Memorandum.
Memorial.
Yep, get the memo.
And I think that's supposed to be an extension of the family. I think that's the true republic, is that the families, the families show that they're the ones that create these societies in which we want to vote in a republic representation.
Well, and one of the things I found in the Department of Transportation as well, there's a lot in there, is a memorandum of understanding, also a memorandum of agreement, and a memorandum of ownership.
Yeah, remember that memorandum of ownership is one people I think might get confused on, but you have to comprehend the term own and owner and all that as it relates to owe. The one that owns something owes. He is the one that is in debt. You cannot own the land. The land shall not be sold forever, for it is mine, and ye are strangers and sojourners with me. And in all the lands of your possession, ye shall grant a redemption. You can possess it and use it. That's your right of enjoyment of possession and use, but you cannot own it. No. You have to give all glory to God. You have to give all glory to God. You cannot own the land. That means if you were formed of the dust of the ground, you do not even own yourself. You have to give glory to God for your breath and your existence. If you don't, and you fall to the fatality of the mammon materialistic world, that's Satan's world. You failed the test. Go ahead.
That it comes back to taxes too, because in taxes, assets are owed, liabilities are owned.
Yep.
If you're going to be a good steward, you have to take on that liability, or that basically responsibility. You have to sponsor, right? You have to take care of it. Yeah. You don't own it. You're just, you're passing through, right?
Yeah. The debt, the thing I own is my acceptance of his oath. That's it.
Does that mean agreement would be against greed? Because ment is mind. Any kind of prefix of A is negative.
Yeah. Oh no man anything but to love one another. For to love one another is to fulfill the law. Romans 13:8. And that starts with Romans 13:1. There is no power but that which is ordained of God. Imagine that. That's Jeremiah 1:5 that I just spoke about. before I formed thee in the belly. He created me, not you. You created a legal fiction. I'll be glad to use it, and I can show you I possess it with this ID. But you're the one that has legal title.
Yeah, you is also the debtor according to the definitions in Department of Transportation, and I actually have a form that lists the Department of Transportation as the debtor.
Yep. United States.
Huh?
Location of the debtor. United States, also known as a debtor. Located Washington, D.C., or District of Columbia. So imagine that. So I got to ask, guys, do you agree that in my statement, society is, in fact, gaslighting traditional family living? All of the things that we've taken upon a comfort and convenience through these different legislations, particularly things like the Federal Reserve Act, the New Deal.
Particularly the New Deal.
Yeah, all the education programs, social security programs, all that stuff that was instituted, unemployment. It indoctrinated a mass amount of people right after the Depression, that there was a workforce that was needed and they were going to be paid well for it. And that was an inducement into certain deceptive forms. And that is a form of society that is no good for the family and only good for a communistic work belt. Destroys the Bible Belt. What do you guys think? Are you in agreement? Are you even religious? I should ask first. Are you Christian, Muslim, whatever, Islamic?
Spiritual.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a more a more accurately ambiguous term to use, because even, quote, Native Americans had their spirits in the sky. You know, that spiritual existence that we call God.
That is one thing I found is the living spirit is a term that they really do not like. There was actually a court case in England a few years back. It's next to impossible to find now, but where the magistrate actually put on the record that there was a difference between the living spirit and the person.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned Genesis 2:7. See, man is a noun. It is a description of the real thing, whereas the living soul is the adjective, which is in fact the real thing and needs no other further description than living soul. When you further describe it, it's a describe, a define. It was fine as an adjective. It's defined further as a definition in a noun.
That's one thing I found in this book. I found at the thrift stores for the new gold standard. It was about Ritz-Carlton and their business practices. And the first, they had 5. Their creed basically consisted of 5, principles, right? The first one was to define and refine those terms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the define part goes to a partaking system or a participation where there are parts, and the refine is going to like an equalization where you refine something. In other words, you remake it, but this time it's a little bit better and it sustains more damage or whatever it is. Today's modern society, we're not really working towards that. We're working towards cheaper instead of refining. What they do in refining in modern technology today is more refining on value systems rather than on integrity. Same with the public record. And that's that gaslighting again. I think it's the
and it's promoting victimhood, and it straight up it just
exactly.
They were using South Park on this actually.
Well,
and it had Prince Harry, I think, and his wife, and they went into it was called talking about branding your name.
Yeah, and you're spot on there with the victimization, and that inclusiveness is what it's about. People are creating their own victimhood so they can be included, because that's the easy route. And there are so many people that have already used that, and it's perpetrating down not just through today's generation, but our prior generation, my parents, my grandparents, and it's slowly growing worse and worse. I mean, we've got people out there that not only are he, she, he, him, but them, theys, and now non-binary. Excuse me, you just expressed binary by he, him, and now you're going to say you're non-binary too. This is the insanity of their belief that you can be anything you want, and you can just stack them up like ice cream flavors.
But you also have to look on there's government documentation and contracts and stuff that doesn't ever say, well, it says he, she in a lot of things where it's describing something, but on the contracts, bonds, whatever, it's either I, we.
Yeah.
I is when it's just, you. We is when you're, part of your house. We belong to our house. We're not owned by it, but we belong to. Big difference.
Yep. Yeah, and that's that context of first person, second person, third person. Think about the context of Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, and Tom Sawyer. Now, Samuel Clemens was the name given, the given name with the family name when he was born. Now, this was converted to a legal name in the system, or would be in modern times. But back then, see, and this is the principle of becoming age majority and going out upon the world and doing your own works, having your own authority or writings, as Samuel Clemens expressed, but he did so through a pen name, a name he created. He controls that which he creates. He does not control that which was given. He does not control that which was given to him by his parents, because they created it. Nor does he control that which was created by the state, which is a legal name of the same. So the inherent and more intellectual and brighter thing to do would be to, upon age of majority, create your own name, a pen name, of which you get to write your authority. This is the pen name that is so inherently is automatic, available for copyright material such as Tom Sawyer. He's the one that created it. Therefore, he controls it and the copyright extending from it, not a government. Why would you apply for copyright from them? He went to Congress on this matter. He's the one that we now have copyright for generation skipping trusts that now take up to, I think they give 70 years in some states, maybe more. Before copyrights are public domain. And we have to understand that's that domain again, dominion. You put yourself in dominion by understanding the perspectives of your personalities. First person, second person, third person. Set thine persons in order. Just like set thine house in order. It's congruent through all jurisdictions. There's an order to things. If you don't follow that order, you're the one that's going to fall into detriment, because you haven't given the consideration of making sure they're in order from the start. Like Melvin was talking about earlier. So anyway, that's my viewpoint. Go ahead.
So, in other words, correct me if I'm wrong. So, are you saying within that public domain is that public domicile, which you domicile within a unit?
No, the public domain is this information network where everybody's getting all this information, whether it be public education, the internet, other social medias, telephone, just back and forth conversations, the regular communications that we have that allow all the little white lies. We have to stop that in every venue. Allowing our children to come up and profess that They want to identify as a cat, for crying out loud, is insanity. And I also know that no child comes up with that kind of imagination by himself. It has to be induced by somebody else, and the only people that can induce something like that is an adult. Because again, children don't inherently want to think that they can be a cat. They inherently observe the world for the reality that it is, and they see themselves as something not a cat.
So, in other words, that's like transmission of communication, right?
Yes, and it's being instilled into the younger generations openly in the public domain, and we allow it. Either we continue on allowing it, or we start doing something to stop it. And like I said earlier, I'm not saying you should be taking your children out of school. I urge people think about that and think about it very seriously, because I think that's the foundation of the main discourse that we're having. We're giving up the responsibility of bringing our child up right in the ways of nature and of her God. And in nature, I've never seen a dog grow up thinking it could be a human. They might act kind of human. Even the gorillas and chimps that they taught how sign language or used certain symbols on a computer to communicate, even they know the difference and profess that they know they're a chimpanzee, as man calls them, or a gorilla, as man calls them. They understand they're not a man, that they're a gorilla, and that there's a distinct difference that they can't change. This is natural reason and logic, not insanity. And we're growing up in a society that's turned completely insane. And again, I'll remind you of what I told City Council. I firmly believe and observe myself here on American soil, we are slowly becoming Hitler's willing executioners, because there's so many people using the excuse that I'm just doing my job that they allow for the insanity. I don't care what kind of piece of paper says you have authority to say you just don't need to give a rat's ass anymore. Someday you are going to be a victim yourself of somebody else that poses they have some kind of authority over you, whether it be through some false regulation legislation or some false accusation of rape or pedophilia, whatever it is. Somebody's going to reach out with their insanity, and it's going to touch you. I'm only urging people to be prepared and be aware of what's out in front of us today and learn how to effectively counteract it. Brianna, you got anything? I haven't heard from you. And Nico Slice, greetings. You guys got anything on it? We're gonna close out, and I just want to.
Yeah, actually, I do have something, man. I wanted to donate something to the cause, man. If you have a Cash App or something, put it in the chat, man. That way I could donate something for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'll throw it in the back chat. So what's your thoughts about the is society gaslighting family living and its traditions by allowing this insanity, the false accusations, even when it comes not just the false sexual or assault allegations or anything like that, but the false allegations from national leaders in this political propaganda trying to rig elections and stuff. I'll be blunt. Do you see the same thing I do?
For me specifically, man, I feel like Big Brother's always watching, no matter what. It's not a coincidence that some people get certain jobs and then start making a certain amount of money, and then when you don't do what they want you to do, then all of a sudden you have these fabricated cases coming out. So yeah, I actually agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and so it would be, equally inherent to comprehend that to enforce that we have to stand up in this knowledge ourselves and push that issue in counteractive intent to equalize that. And that's what I say. We lost that authority by giving it up in this posing of the responsibility of the government. No, it's still our responsibility. And that's what we have to take back. We have to quit claiming rights and victimhood, but take back our responsibility and enforce that. And the only way we can do that is knowledge. What about you, Brianna? Are you of the same milk, the same agreement in that? Brianna? And Iman, I see you there if you want to go ahead and oops, that's not.
Hey, don't forget that that Cash App name.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now, but it wanted to give me a big full link from YouTube, so I'm cutting off the extension. Okay, there we go. It's in the back chat for you. And Iman, I see you wanted to say something. Feel free. Now's your time. Iman. There you are.
Hear me?
You betcha. I got you now.
Okay, good. Yeah, I do, but I wanted to kind of say it after the after you close.
Oh, after the stream. All right.
Yeah,
Just
but
hang out.
yeah, but I do have a question though.
Go ahead.
You mentioned Romans 13:1, and I was writing it down what it was in regards to, so I can source that information and read it.
Yeah, it's relative to Jeremiah 1:5, wherein God sanctified and ordained me. And then Romans 13:1 says there is no power but that which is ordained by God. Then you go to Romans 13:8, and it says, "Owe no man anything but to love one another. For to love one another is to fulfill the law." And I wonder what happened to you, Hadassah. It says device not connected.
Yeah, and the specific one with you mentioned a specific one with sojourning. Was there a
Can you hear
particular
me?
scripture for that one where you sojourner with the Most High?
Yeah, that's Leviticus 25, verse 23.
Okay, that's what I thought. I got it.
Welcome back, sister. We're closing out here. You got anything on the end?
No, Leviticus is very important and people need to look into that. And just as a side note, I had someone tell me recently about an experience with their employer. They had originally signed up as a 1099 worker, independent contractor, and they kind of forced him into a W-4, and they were trying to get him to sign up for direct deposit, right? And the woman that did the books, who happens to be the owner and mother, it's a family business, he noticed that she had a Star of David on her neck. And he said that because they were really forcing the direct deposit thing. And he said that he didn't want to do that because he doesn't participate in usury. And her comment back to him was, well, usury is only between one Jew and another. I thought that was very interesting.
My. Another aspect of research I got to check into, because usufruct is what we're dealing with, folks, in fact. And according to my research and history, the story about Hitler is a lot different than what a lot of people have been told. But I'm neither going to condone nor deny what's happened. But my perspective is that there's a certain banking regime that's been perpetrating its delusional authority, I'll call it, for a number of eons. And I truly believe it to be somewhat Judaic in order. I'm not going to make any accusations directly. It is merely a belief because of my research. And unless somebody can prove me wrong, I will have to stick to it. But it shows me Jesuit bankers trying to stop independent banking amongst nations that are wealthy so that they can, in fact, control the wealth of the nations. My opinion only.
There's actually a particular loan that they can go to the bank and ask for, and it has to be their mother that is Semitic.
Jewish. Yeah,
And
Jewish.
yeah, and they get a interest-free loan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that,
it gets
that,
interesting.
yeah, that's that endowment you were talking about, that dowry. The dowry is the bonding of the estate that is required by the man. See, the man passes the estate, the woman passes the dowry, and together they create the perpetual unity. But it's always
Endowed with
founded
certain inalienable rights.
by the maiden.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I would look into usury in your state, because one thing I found in the one I'm on right now is that they say that they're exempt from any usury clauses or anything like that because they cap it off at 45%. So I'm trying to figure out why that number. Yeah,
But yeah,
look into that.
Yeah, let me know what you find out.
Okay. Have a good day. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You bet. And I want to take time to, of course, thank everybody for coming up on panel. I want to remind everybody, please hit that like, share, and subscribe. There is a PayPal link down in the details section. And Nico, I did drop the PayPal link in the private chat for you. Appreciate it. All is appreciated. I am blessed. And I want to let everybody know one final time. Do not believe me. Do not believe the neighbor. Do not believe the government. For crying out loud, do not believe your mother. It's time to do your research so you know. People are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. That's the true benefit. And if you keep living your life believing somebody else's presumptions and their words or terms of art and don't know how it's happening, it's because you're not able to counteract what they're doing by knowing what they're doing. When you start learning how this stuff is perpetrated through the different grammar styles and the different terms that they invent and create along the way for this inclusion and diversity and equity, why do you need to be included? Isn't your diversity something that says you have certain talents that are different than others? That when you mix them with those others, those talents combined create something greater? Shouldn't that be your focus? Why is that not your focus? And that can only come from that family unit. The reason the society poses this stuff is so that each independent unit can have its own monetary value. Is that monetary value worth destroying the family spiritual foundation? We're not going to have any spirit left. We're going to be total slaves, indoctrinated into this false belief system. And everybody's just going to keep teaching their generation after generation to keep believing. And generation after generation, we're going to come up with fewer and fewer rulers till we have one that says, you're all mine, and you better do damn well what I say. Doesn't that sound like Satan or God? God gives you free will. Do as you will. Satan's the one that went to Job and took everything, even after God gave it. And this is the power of Satan. He can take away what God gave you. Because he works with Mother Nature.
Running the book of Job on us? Isn't that the premise?
Well, and we have to understand the context of the book of Job in that it was the power of Satan in this world. He possesses the powers of Mother Earth. He possesses the power of the tornadoes and this and that. That's the laws of Mother Nature. He's the one that rules this kingdom. That's the test of life. Is that act of God, even through Satan's doings here in this world. We live in this world. And even Satan is an act of God, is he not? If you have the ability to accept an act of God through you, would you want it to be directly from God or through Satan or even through Christ even. See, those are your choices. Most people don't understand the spiritual baptism is a baptism of recognizing a communication strictly with God. Without needing Christ or the story of Satan or anything, you have a spiritual baptism where you recognize the presence of a greater power that you come to know as God, or the existence of a definition of a noun represented as a God. To me, it's a source of life. That source of life is breath. Man became a living soul. He changed from a noun on a piece of paper, baby little, baby boy little. He changed from a noun on a piece of paper on a prenatal chart. They did a funny video thing and found out I had a little pee-pee down there and said, yeah, that's a little baby boy. And his daddy named his son, so that little baby boy Conrady. Here we go. Prenatal record. Baby boy Conrady expected due such and such a day. When he's actually born, that is baby boy little on the birth extract. And then the transferred information has a legal name, which is a first and last name, a conversion of the given name and the family name. This is all relative to understanding how this society and its insane rules, regulations, acts, edicts, ordinances that you believe so much in because it's written down on a piece of paper. It's the destruction of that traditional family living. The traditional family living, like I said earlier, our forefathers knew the law. They knew how to teach their own children reading, writing, and arithmetic because they understood reading, writing, and arithmetic themselves and didn't put it upon anybody else to teach them but themselves. That was homeschooling. There was no public education unless you went to a higher education college of some sort. So anyway, we've come to the end of our stream. I appreciate everybody for joining me in this DemoCrazy open debate. Hopefully we'll have another one again soon sometime. Hopefully it'll be a better turnout and people will speak a little bit more. I really appreciate what you did have to say, but I want some more input, some more passion, guys. Please, please. And in the meantime, thank you again, Iman, Nico, Brianna Thompson, Hadassah. We had Melvin Washington and some others here earlier. Be sure to rewatch the video as many times as you want or need to. I hope you would. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. You got something on the way out, Hadassah? It seems like you opened up your mic.
I was just going to tell Iman to check the private chat in here, please, really quick. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
You bet. All right, and you guys know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back or not. And that's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. And that's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night.